Jasmine Florentine will come on next and talk about her entire creative writing process. Since we're kind of like, I was a little bit ambitious with my slides. I got too excited adding stuff on day one. So we're going to move some of the stuff down. But since we do want to be respectful of Jasmine's time, she's going to be coming in first. So we'll do a little bit of the why graphic novels and a little bit about graphic novels before we backtrack and give you some actual examples from Louana about how she used it in her classroom, how she used Elementary in her classroom for novel summaries and for interactive maps in particular, before we continue down with the other projects. And so I'm going to hand it away to Jasmine. I don't know if, do you have the slides, Jasmine, to share, or should I share?
Yes, one moment. Share. You can see that I was looking up Illuminate in the other tab. Thanks for that link. That looks really cool. Um,
Just ignore that. Let's move on. Oh, I had
you want,
slides for
yeah,
yours
do
too.
you want to talk through those first before I hop in?
Okay, sorry. I'll preface. I forgot. I forgot what I even made nowadays. I'm so sorry. I'm so scatterbrained. Please bear with me. Um, okay, so I'll go ahead and
Do you want to share
I
from your
got
side?
it.
Okay.
So okay, so to preface all of this, we're going to talk about graphic novels slash manga. I have to do that because the American Library categorizes both of them kind of together. And so, what are they? Well, they're a narrative, a form of storytelling using sequential art. They combine images, dialogue structure, and they can include a wide range of genres from memoirs, fiction, nonfiction, and manga. And on the right, you have some of the most popular titles in elementary school, middle school, and even I think some high school. Anyone have any in particular that they particularly like? So what we do know is that it is the most checked out format in K-12 libraries. So there is a significant increase in interest in graphic novels and graphic novel checkouts across the entire United States, and I'm pretty sure across the entire world. And it also drives a huge number of students to actually finish stories. So you'll see a lot of students who will read, 26 volumes of whatever, and they'll go through it. So there's really high interest and investment in this format. And in particular, it's really popular for grades 4 to 10. So, so graphic novels enhance literacy, and they do that because they enhance memory retention through visual and text integration. I'm not saying that they replace a novel study, but they do engage students in ways that maybe a novel study does not. And it could be a great starting point for those that are just completely turned off to any sort of reading. So me reading a 200-page novel, no, and me reading a 1,000-page manga, yeah, that's how it is. So we do know also there's research that supports that graphic novels support the comprehension, especially for diverse learners with dyslexia as this study. And it engages ELLs and reluctant readers through accessible storytelling. And if you're interested, all the links to those reports are in the slides as well. So yeah, Katie McNamara mentions a great point, which is graphic novels expose students to greater, higher vocabulary. So if we're talking about like lexile, which is word frequency and sentence length are the measurements behind lexile, then it would have a higher lexile. Oh, so now I'm going to stop sharing, or I guess I could keep it. Do you want to deal with it, or do you want me to
Uh,
press the buttons?
I don't care either way. I'll just tell you when to switch, I guess, since you're already sharing. And I just want to chime in, because I'm seeing comments in the chat about, graphic novels are real books, graphic novels improve vocabulary. I want to say, like, I grew up reading manga, comic books, graphic novels. I love them. Back when Twitter was Twitter, you would see this occasional thing come up among authors in the literary world where some parents somewhere would say, oh, I don't want my kids reading graphic novels, I want them reading real books, and just want to, yeah, you know, they are real books, they're real storytelling, you know, kids learn from them and love them, and you know, that's really what matters. It's just a different medium for telling stories. So that's how I think about it. Yeah, as for myself, I gave a brief intro earlier. So again, my background is mechanical engineering. I do a lot of stuff with STEM education, and basically, actually, what happened was, as I mentioned, I love comic books. I used to draw my own little like comic strips and share them with friends, and then started a web comic briefly. And then when I was in graduate school, one of the things that I realized I was it was a mechanical engineering program, 20% female, which 20% female for mechanical engineering is actually much better than the actual workplace. Um, and at that point, I sort of realized I wanted to kind of bring together the different things I was passionate about, which was storytelling, graphic novels, and STEM education, and use that as a way to engage particularly girls, but generally kids in general with STEM. And that's sort of when I really began being very interested in how I could use stories to promote STEM. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide there. So my part of my inspiration for like, okay, why stories and STEM? Growing up, I was obsessed with the Magic School Bus. I watched, I think, every episode in existence multiple times. I did not actually watch it because I liked science. I watched it because I liked magic, and I liked this story of this magic bus and this magic classroom, and you know, going into space and going back in time and turning into dinosaurs. And in the process, happened to learn a lot of science. But the science was I was almost like tricked into learning it. And so that's, I think, what really kind of sparked my interest in, okay, how do you use stories? Like, you know, you have kids and adults who will go and watch all the Star Wars movies and memorize every little bit of fictional trivia there. Why not use that same emotional engagement, that same like fan energy, but kind of turn it towards more real world learning? Slide. Yeah, so the first book I wrote was Hex Allen and the Clanksmith. That was not a graphic novel. I think I was sort of nervous about the amount of work that would go into a graphic novel, and mistakenly thought that writing a not graphic novel, regular novel would be easier. Turns out it's not. It's hard in a very, very different way. But that one, the premise there was basically it's these three kids who go on a fantasy adventure, but instead of using, you know, swords or magic to solve problems, they use engineering. And all of the projects that exist within the adventures are projects that the kids can actually go and build themselves, and exist at the end. At the end of the book is the main character, Hex, her design notebook that shows how to build all the projects. And after that, I decided, you know what, I was going to go and try writing and illustrating a graphic novel without realizing exactly what I was getting into. Again, turns out it's very difficult in a different kind of way. It's funny, we were talking earlier about, you know, students kind of maybe needing that ability to kind of learn that sometimes really hard projects take a lot of time and you don't get instant gratification. That is very much what publishing feels like, I have to say, especially graphic novel, because they take so long to illustrate and make. And so certainly even for me as an adult, that was a good lesson in taking, I guess, just taking time and not having instant gratification there. Yeah. Next slide. Thanks. So that's just snippet from Hex Allen and the Clanksmiths. So that one, I did the writing, but Ebony Glenn did the character illustrations, which was amazing because she was, you know, a professional, well-known illustrator, and I was a completely new author. So it was really an honor to work with her. And as you can see, all the projects are incorporated into the story. So in this case, Hex is building a lamp using LEDs. And if we go to the next slide, you can see the actual project there. So then that's Hex's design notebook. And so those are the illustrations that I did, which just show then how to go and actually build that project. So Maker Girl and Professor Smart is the graphic novel series that I have coming out in a couple of weeks now, actually. I've got, they just sent me the quote unquote British translation today, which appears to be the same as the American one, but you know, some of the spellings are changed, which is kind of funny. So it's a much sillier story than Hex Allen and the Clanksmiths. It aimed a little bit younger. But generally the same idea. It's two kids who basically live in this world where suddenly this comet has struck the Earth and mysteriously granted a number of people superpowers. And in their town, unfortunately, all they have is supervillains, but no superheroes. So they decide that they're going to become superheroes, despite the fact that they don't actually have proper superpowers in the typical sense of superpowers. And so they decide that their superpowers are making stuff and knowing stuff. And so incorporated into the book are, again, these hands-on projects that become a part of the plot. And so every book, there's 4 books planned right now. 2 of them are, yeah, basically, it turns out with the comic book series, you actually have to illustrate ahead of them. But anyway, so they each have 2 projects at least that are built into the plot there. And so I guess that I was going to talk a bit about the process of what it's actually like to create a graphic novel, especially because I'm sure some of your kids are probably really excited to create their own comics. I think, is that the next slide? Maybe I should have looked ahead of time. Right, next slide. Sorry. So, and I should say every process is different. There is no right or wrong process. You know, I think I maybe have an extra step that some artists don't, and they manage to get through things faster. There's artists who do things in different ways. So this is just one process. Anyway, so the way I start is I start by thinking about the characters because I tend towards stories that are very character driven. In this case, Maker Girl and Professor Smarts is episodic. And so every single book, the plot sort of stands on its own. And so it's really the characters that are consistent throughout. And so, yeah, I just started by doodling them, thinking about their personalities. As I'm sort of drawing them, I'm thinking what they're going to be like. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, is that sort of the finished character sheet for Yaya in both her superhero and her non-superhero mode. And those are the images that I later then use to guide the illustrations in terms of kind of keeping consistency with what she looks like. And so if any of your students are interested in animation or games as well, they tend to have actually character sheets like this, actually far more detailed, where they kind of do a turnaround of all the characters. But that's how you wind up keeping consistency panel to panel. And then that's Chewy. So he's the other main character of the duo there. And again, sort of just a character sheet showing him, and he doesn't really have a real costume because he's a little too dignified to show up in costume in real life. And again, just exploring different expressions there. So once I have the characters defined, and usually I have at this point some vague idea of what the plot is, I go in and I actually write out scripts. What I didn't include here is there's also a lot of just pencil and paper. I'm pretty old-fashioned and like to kind of jot down notes in a notebook. But eventually it becomes this script that then goes to my editor, and you know, they're able to look at it. You can see here that I divided up the panels. I actually wound up giving up doing that in the script at some point because it was really hard for me to actually visualize where the panels divide without actually starting to sketch things out. So that, again, you know, you or your students might just prefer to write it out almost like a movie script, where it's just like, here's the dialogue and here's kind of vaguely what happens. But again, everyone has their own style. So then I do thumbnails or storyboards. I'm not actually sure what the official term is, but these are basically these really loose sketches. This one's actually a little bit, even a little nicer than some of the ones I have, where some of them literally are just sort of like a step above stick figures. Um, and for me, that's how I think about how I'm actually going to tell the story visually. And I think that's, that's what makes graphic novels such a fun medium, is that it is words and visuals combined. And so just as much thought into the in terms of the storytelling, just as much thought goes into, okay, how am I dividing the action up? How am I dividing the panels up? What angle am I looking at it? My dad, he directs action movies, and he actually said that like a lot of the way he thinks about movies is actually kind of similar to this, where he has to think about, each frame and each perspective. Also highly recommend Scott McCloud's Understanding Comic Books as a really great resource to understand a little bit more about I guess, how to think about visual storytelling. And I look at a lot of references as well. I look at comic books that match sort of the style I'm going for, and use that to kind of get inspiration for, again, like, what angle do I want to use here? How many panels do I want to divide this? And you can see I've left random notes to myself in the margins as well. So at this point, and I send it to the editor, and the editor will actually look at this, because this is a stage where it's still really easy to change things. The thing about comics is sort of like the further you go along with the art, the harder then it gets to change things. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide.
1 second, I'm putting in the chat the Understanding Comics
Oh
by
yeah.
Scott McCloud. It's on archive.org, so you can go ahead and download it for free and see the panels. I especially like the panel with the face, where he
Yes.
has, that's the best one. It's like, why do we like the smiley face? Because we can see ourselves as the smiley face, because we don't see our own face.
Faces in everything. I think that also is the panel that shows like an electrical outlet, and how you look at that and you see a face.
Yep,
Um,
it's that panel. I was
I
going to put
love
those in the slides here, and then I realized that my slides are already too long.
It's one of the things that I love actually about character design too, is like so much of cartoons and comics and all that is like, how do you abstract the human form? Like a couple, like you look at Tintin, for instance, and Tintin's face, I think, is basically two dots for eyes and like a nose and mouth, and like that's a face. Um, so I don't know, I could wax poetic about that, but yeah, basically. So for me, then the next step is going from the storyboards to now these much more refined pencils. And this is the stage where I actually move from pencil and paper to digital. So that those original storyboards were just done in a notebook. And part of that is, I find for me personally that if I go into digital drawing too fast, then I start to become a perfectionist, because it's so tempting when you're drawing digitally to kind of zoom into the smallest detail and hit undo a million times. Whereas when I'm in the storyboarding and I really want to kind of keep things like loose and free and fast, pencils kind of force me to do that. So yeah, so this is now done digitally on my iPad in Procreate. And you can see that it's basically the same like composition and panels and stuff as the thumbnails, but like the expressions are all fleshed out, and the details are all there, except for the word bubbles. I have a bad tendency to forget to leave enough room for word bubbles. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide there, that is when I go then into inks. And so that's basically just, and again, this is an art style thing. Every artist has their own style. I think my drawing style tends to be kind of like halfway between like manga and Disney probably. So I do a lot of those black outlines that I then fill in afterwards. And this is just drawn, basically traced right on top of the pencils. Interestingly, in like the so a lot of graphic novels now going through traditional publishers tend to be like only one artist kind of doing everything, or maybe one artist with an assistant. But if you look at like traditional superhero comics, because they had to make so many of these so quickly, I think they're putting out like an issue a week. They would actually have different people for different jobs, which is something you could do with your students potentially, where you would have one person who would do the pencils, one person who would do the inks, one person who would do the colors. And actually now with my later comic books, because I don't have the time to do everything myself, I'm actually having somebody else who's going to be doing the inks and the colors for me. So just a thought there. And speaking of colors, I realized that I forgot to put in one slide there of an extra step, but that's okay. Basically, the way I do colors is first I just put in all the flat colors, which is just kind of basically filling them in a single color. And then I go in and I put in, shading or gradients or like the shininess on the windows, stuff like that. Yeah, that's my process. And it takes, gosh, how long does it take per page? Anywhere from start to finish, I'd say anywhere from about 7 to 15 hours, which is why I don't recommend drawing graphic novels if you don't really, really love drawing. And it's actually very interesting now with generative AI. It's so tempting to kind of just go and be like, can I just outsource this to AI? And the answer is no, both because of my publishing contract and also just because I think, we were talking about like, people playing instruments earlier and how, part of the process there is also learning to play the instrument. For me, it's like, this is my creative outlet and I take pride in it. And so I would not want to turn any of this to AI at this stage. I don't know, ask me again in 5 years if I'm sick of drawing these things, but yeah. So that's my process. Any questions? And I saw a bunch of stuff come up in the chat, sorry, as I was talking, which I did not get the chance to read. And interestingly, just manga actually also has a slightly different process than like Western superhero comics, where I think they tend to have one person, like the main illustrator, will be drawing the main characters and the main action, and then they'll actually get somebody else doing like backgrounds and background characters. And that's actually the sort of thing where I do see AI being potentially very useful, is helping fill in all those backgrounds, or like maybe helping take it from that step where you're, 80% there to 100% there. But I will say that there's a lot of, at least in publishing right now, a lot of ethical questions about that, just because a lot of illustrators very fairly feel that their art was used to train these models. And so I think it's interesting because, like, again, I'm in this STEM space of engineering and very kind of technologically forward, but also keeping an eye on what's going on creatively and in the art world. And they're having very, very different discussions there. And it's very interesting. And I don't know what the answer is. I'm sort of like, I guess, waiting to see how this plays out, because I don't feel comfortable using anything that was sort of that has these ethical questions about being trained off other illustrators' art right now. But at the same time, Pandora's box is open, and so I don't know what the answer is there.
Any other questions for Jasmine at this time? And I don't think anyone has any answers. I mean, I read so much about AI and all the things, but at the same time, I use it in my workflow all the time because it's either you do or you kind of get thrown up behind. or
Yeah.
or like it would just take you 10 times longer. But I did read an interesting article on coding with AI, which was basically saying that our perception of use with with AI makes like co experienced coders who are using AI think they're 20 times faster, but in reality, they aren't 20 times faster. They can be as I think the paper itself is like slower even. It was something along those lines. I didn't go into the actual experimentation study and the structure. I just read the abstract and then the conclusion. So I wasn't exactly sure about how they checked off all the times and stuff. But it's an
Yeah.
interesting. I noticed that when I'm doing lesson design creation with AI, I'm spending a lot of time still.
And I do think that, there's arguments for not everybody enjoys drawing or wants to draw or knows how to draw. But if you really want to still be a visual storyteller, that's a way to do it. That said, especially when it's not a commercial project, I think I would encourage people first to try and find somebody who wants to draw with you. Because there are lots of people who love drawing and go that route. Where should kids who want to start writing their own comics start? Ah, um, that's a good question. I mean, I started in middle school literally just using we had these agenda books that we were supposed to write all our assignments in, and instead I used mine to write comic strips. So I think it's one of those things you just start and maybe start like again, comic books are a really big project, so maybe start with like a short. So just even like a 6 or a 10 page comic. Um and and kind of going through the steps there and figuring out like what your drawing style is, what your storytelling style is, um, getting things traditionally published. Uh, that's actually interesting. It turns out for a comic book, you don't actually need to have an entire comic book to get it published. You just need to have a pitch. So you need to have like a script and like 10 sample pages. But in terms of self-publishing, there has never been more ways to self-publish comic books right now. And Webtoons is massive. So Webtoons is interesting because I think, people probably all remember the days of reading web comics, and it's like, you have a web comic was basically like if you took a traditional comic and then you just put one page and you click through. And the cool fun thing about Webtoons is like it really is designed for scrolling. But I think anybody can just post to there. Um,
Yeah, I believe anyone can post to Webtoons and like what is it, tap something, Taptastic or something. It's another self-publishing outlet for Webtoons, webcomics.
oh, probably best I don't know about that because I spend a little too much time reading Webtoons anyway.
I think
Um,
it's Tapas is the community that does webcomics. Tapas.io is one, but they have a lot of other ones as well. If you want to specifically look into like webcomic format. But another suggestion is, yeah, you look into like the 4 panel comics, like the manga style, the yonkama or whatever, as a way to start, so you don't have to do a huge project. Instead, it's just a gag element. If you want to do something that's a little bit less overwhelming to begin with.
I had a teacher in middle school who we had to do a project for the Odyssey. And now that we're talking about this is suddenly when I remember that like I decided to do a comic book retelling of the Odyssey. Um, but I will say that like comic books are such a big project that having that external deadline really is what helped me go from, oh, I'm gonna draw one page to like actually completing something. And so having something where it's kind of a defined project that's not overwhelmingly long, but maybe long enough to just sort of push to make the effort to like go through and finish it. And the other thing, maybe to advise your students, especially those who are already drawing, and uh, advice I got from another comic book artist, which is that when you draw comics, you want to draw at like 50% of your drawing level, because otherwise you're going to spend hours and hours on this one little perfect panel and then realize you have like 300 more panels to go. So sometimes with comic books, it's really, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to tell the story well. Um, I'm not sure if Ben Swanson's question is for me about game design, because I will say that the game design projects I've worked on haven't been video games. They've been like first robotics, which is a physical game, and live action role-playing games. So that's, I mean, I'm happy to talk about that. I wasn't sure if that was the intent or if it was more focused on like traditional video games. Okay, sure. Yeah. So then for first, I was working for the high school level competition. So that's 8 through 12. And then the live action role playing game was middle school. And in terms of topics, it was definitely a real learning curve for me in both cases. And I was really glad that in both I was working with teams of people who were more experienced. Because designing a physical game brings all its own sets of challenges. And so with first, fortunately, it's been around for a couple decades now. And so a lot of the people kind of had ideas of like the kinds of things that worked and didn't work. But you're designing a game for a robot. The robot's going to be playing it. The students are going to be driving the robots. So students are basically playing it. But I think maybe and there's a lot of these weird quirks about like designing these kinds of games, but I think maybe the thing that stuck with me the most and that sticks with me now whenever I think about designing something is that they were always designed to be sort of like low floor, high ceilings. So you would always have a challenge that the teams that that all they're making is we would call it a box on wheels, but I think that's actually pretty disparaging because like any kid that is able to make a working robot, that is super impressive. But to be fair, the teams that are beginner teams and basically have something that can just drive around are going to be competing with teams that have mentors from Google and a lot of school funding and have really elaborate claws and stuff, and they all need to have a good time and they all need to learn something from it. And so the game design there, it was very important that we had challenges that all of them could do, and it's always 3 robots in an alliance, a team, and so it meant that there's always something for them to do. So it could be that some of these robots were more focused on defense, but it also meant that one of the games I worked on was called Power Up, and that was retro video game themed. And basically, the robots had to stack these boxes onto these giant seesaws. And so, what we did is we had one really giant seesaw in the middle of it. Actually, I can share screen because I'm not sure I'm describing this well. Let me. So, see if it just shows up in Google there. Or there we go. Oop. Nope. Hold on. The other good place for photos is my own website. Ha ha ha. Because I was taking photos at the competition. So this giant seesaw. And you can see that some of these teams would build these very complex robots. And if you could get the cubes up there, you got more points. But there were also these much lower seesaws that were the same sort of idea. And you didn't have to have a very complex robot to be able to basically push a cube onto that. And so that way, the game is designed to engage kids of all different levels. And I think that's something that was very, very important to designing these kinds of games. The other let's see. The other thing was this live action role playing game. And in that case, I was working with somebody he'd never designed something like this, but he'd done a lot of live action role playing. And so he kind of had a lot of ideas about how to build the plot and the story. And I had a lot of ideas about how to incorporate the missions and the technology. And the fun thing about this sort of thing is that the a lot of the projects and stuff are open-ended enough that the kids really start to invent, their own thing. They would start to invent missions that we hadn't added. They would invent their own stories and plot and characters. And so they would just build this game into something bigger, which was really, really cool to see. Um, yeah, and it was a very different kind of challenge because with first you're designing physical games where it's like pick up objects, throw objects, almost like, designing a new sport. Here it's more like designing almost like a video game, I guess, where it's like, okay, here's the missions, how do you design these missions first of all so they're all open-ended enough that the kids still have a lot of space to be creative. And I think that's a very important part of it as well.
Oh yeah. We have a slide where you can see where to get all of Jasmine's books and her other goodies. She's very well known for her Ticklebot, and you can find tutorials on how to do that as well. And we have a last question. In a field STEM that becomes very oversaturated with people in it for money and tons of overseas competition, how does a student with passion set themselves apart and leave a lasting impression and not get discouraged with the cutthroat nature of the current landscape?
That
Uh,
is such a good question. And it's something that sometimes I ask myself, I say, I keep, promoting STEM. And meanwhile, myself have like kind of avoided more of the like traditional STEM career trajectory. What does that mean? I would say it's sort of what I've seen personally, like as an engineer in the space is two things. For myself, being multidisciplinary has been um it's meant when I go and apply online to things, people have no idea what to do with my resume because I don't fit into any box. And then every time they open my portfolio and see what they do, I kind of get this reaction of, oh, we didn't know we were looking for someone like you until we see your portfolio. So for me, being multidisciplinary has really been what set me apart in the marketplace and has really helped me. But the other thing is just it's true, there's a lot of people doing it for the money. I think I still feel like the people who are just really passionate about it, it really shows. I'm actually right now I'm working for a robotics company and I have an intern and like she she like lives and breathes robotics and STEM. And she came in and she wanted to already like learn stuff that was not even part of her assignment just because she was so excited about it. um and so I think that passion is always going to come through and win over somebody who's just kind of there following the career path because it's the most lucrative career path. And maybe that's naive of me, but like I really do think that passion and excitement really, really comes through, even once you've graduated and gone into the workplace.
but I do think it's like with any passion, you can't really sell the dream of you can have everything to kids. So there are like, and this is not just for STEM, this is for anything, whether you want to be a footballer, whether you want to be a musician, or whether you want to be a scientist, like there are trade-offs for putting your career first versus, alternatives. So like the biggest thing, especially as a female, is, well, you're going to have a trade-off between, do you want to pursue your career or do you want to, maybe have kids and, enjoy your kids? Because unfortunately, the workplace is going to want the person who is able to travel, who's able to go to those conferences, who's able to go to Antarctica, things like that. Like I have a friend who she was obsessed with tardigrades since middle school. And, she went to Antarctica. She's featured in Nature magazine. She works in Japan now, still doing tardigrades. But she did have to give up some other things, like she maybe won't be able to have a family right away because she pursued these other career options. She's happy in her life, but it's also something that we need to like kind of be aware of and not just say like, oh, the career is the only thing that will fulfill you, because that's not necessarily true. And that's why we also see such a drop off from people in the STEM fields.
And yeah, just to second that, for all that I have this weird uh mixed feelings about the fact that I really do want to see more girls in STEM. And I think what I really want to see is girls at least having the confidence, feeling like if they want to pursue that path, then they have the skills and abilities. But I do think that the workplace is still not as friendly as it needs to be. There's this again, like I have a toddler. I'm not going to be able to keep up with somebody who's willing to work 11 to 12-hour days every day. I also don't think that it's necessarily good for a company to burn out their employees in the long run. And I think, creativity takes a hit. But in the short run, that hustle culture, um, honestly, that's kind of what drove me away a bit from more traditional tech companies. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I suppose, Nicole's completely right. You can't have it all. And like, what do you prioritize? But also, where do you fight to try and have more at least? So yeah, that's really difficult. And it really is unfortunate to see that, the pipeline will send women all the way up into the workplaces and then not support them from there.
Why is there no free childcare? The end. Let's move
Yeah.
on to the next slide.
I see one more article that is like, why are people not having, why are millennials not having more kids? I'm like, well, I don't know, make it, affordable to have kids.
Okay. Anyway, we're not here for that, though. Let's go on. Okay, so thank you so much, Jasmine, for coming in, and it was great seeing you, even if I know that you weren't feeling that well, but I really appreciate it. So thank you so
Yeah, no, thank you
much.
all. It was really great to speak. Like I said, I love comics and I can geek out about them forever. So yeah, I'll just I have nothing more to say there other than comic books are awesome, and anybody who thinks otherwise needs to read more comic books.
Okay, so, oh dear, what just happened? Um, so now that we're feeling all inspired, I know I am, let's go ahead and I can share my screen again. And in the chat, what's one theme or topic you'd love your students to explore in a graphic novel? We'd love to hear your ideas. Feel free to put them in the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to continue a little bit on my soapbox about graphic novels and why I think they're awesome. And it's because graphic novels really lower the barrier, the writing barrier for emerging writers. It's really hard to write. Writing requires a lot of effort. It is much more effortful to write than it is to speak because speaking comes naturally. Writing is a skill that you have to practice, that you have to persist with. So it's hard. The only way that we can improve is by writing a little bit at a time. And graphic novels might be one of the ways to get those kids who won't write a sentence to write a sentence. Visual storytelling in graphic novels offers multiple ways to express ideas. And finally, it builds confidence in voice identity and narrative thinking. Okay, so I see a lot of ideas in the chat. I see solar systems, empathy, and environmental justice, family, figurative language. These are all great ideas. SEL, kindness, growth mindset, characterization, the power of yet, a musician's biography, what music means to me. I really like those ideas. Those are all great ideas. Okay, so let's continue a little bit about, okay, so we have graphic novels and we talked about how graphic novels are awesome. Now let's talk about games. So we have a kind of niche genre of games that is focused on narrative storytelling. So these are a couple games that you see. One of them is 80 Days. It's based off the book Around the World in 80 Days. It's a great game where you make choices and your choices will impact the ending. So think choose your own adventure, but with cool, graphics and more fun choices. Like you can make your suitcase or all those things. And why do we care about that? Well, because it turns readers into game designers. So now you are writing your game. And finally, it's just fun to create a graphic novel game. I also call them visual novels. If you're familiar with the term visual novel, it's a type of game that uses, anime characters to create choice elements in which you can have different endings. Generally, they're for more adult audiences, but I would say if you're using it in your classroom, middle school, that will be a hit in middle school. And we're going to do that next. Okay, so before we get into the nitty gritty, a lot of teachers are saying, sounds good, doesn't work. I see my kids 40 minutes. What can I do? And that is a very relevant concern. And so I want to talk a little bit about the different learning setups that you can do with elementary. So obviously you can have kids all create their own personal accounts, and they can work through their projects just like you did, where it's, one step at a time. They go through the writing process, they go through the coding process, and then they finally publish their own project, okay? This works great if you are a classroom teacher that has the time. If you are a special teacher, or maybe you're a teacher who doesn't even know who's going to come up, like who's going to show up to your class, like a drop-in, you're going to need something else. So the first thing that I like to do is teacher-led writing or code along with me activities. And I actually first started doing this during COVID. I hosted I hosted a whole bunch of clubs with students, and they would just help me write the story. So I would go through and be like, okay, so who should be the character of our story? And then I'll say, oh, do you want to have a girl, a boy, a rabbit? Type in the chat, vote 1, 2, 3. 1 for girl, 2 for boy, 3 for rabbit, And then we go through and we pick all of our story elements. We create our choices, things like that. If you're in the actual classroom with the kids, you can actually have your students record their voiceovers of what the character should say. So this is a great way. So instead of doing like your what is it, like a picture book reading, you can do like a let's create our own picture book together activity. And it doesn't have to take that much time. You don't have to worry about logins or any of that, because it's just going to be your station projected up, and all the students will just rambunctiously tell you all of their ideas about where, Little Red Riding Hood should go next, for example. The second way you could do it is with rotation stations. You can have shared logins. So you can create student accounts on elementary that don't have emails. It's just the username. So the logins would be like student 1, student 2, student 3. Then the students can work on the same computer in turn, and they could accomplish the story over the course of however many weeks. And it'll just be multiple different authors adding on to the story as it goes. How coherent that story will be is questionable, but they'll have fun. We talked about individual already. And the final one is drop-in. So drop-in, there's no login needed. You can still do the rotation stations for drop-in, but you can also just not create an account and just mess around and then just create and preview projects with each other. So those are kind of like different learning setups that you can do within your context. So, okay. Okay, so I have 2 Choose Your Own Adventures projects because I didn't finish my Hero's Journey writing organizer. So that will probably be published in a couple of weeks. But unfortunately, you don't have that. So you'll have your Choose Your Own Adventure Ocean Mystery, and Paige will talk about that. a little because she actually used it in her classroom and she can tell you how it worked, and we can go through that together. And then the one for grades 9 to 12 is the Justice Simulator, which is a collaborative work I did with um, Yuritsa, and it's kind of based on her picture book. And the goal of this one is to research a character or a person in history, write about it, write about that person, and provide choices with different endings. So I'm not going to go too much into this right now because I really want to focus our time on how Paige used the Choose Your Own Adventure. Oh, I'm so sorry. Luana, I just skipped over all of the animation section. Um, what do we do?
It's fine.
We
I
can
can jump in at any time.
Okay, we'll jump about that. We'll jump in about your stuff a little bit later, maybe. I
Okay.
just completely forgot. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Okay, so if Paige can go through some of the ocean mystery, and talk about that before we go into creating the ocean mystery, and then you'll have time to play around with it. We'll have breakout rooms to debug, all of that jazz. Does that sound good to everyone?
Right, we're good. All right, Louana, I'm sorry that I'm bumping you, but well, I'll go first, and then you'll have time to talk about your project as well. All
Oh,
right,
it's my
so
fault.
oh, it's all right. It's hard to get the timing right. All right. So the project that I did at the end of the year with my students was called Choose Your Own Ocean Mystery. And I had brainstormed with Nicole a project that my fourth and fifth graders were working on in science. So located in New Jersey, and this I'm not a classroom teacher, I'm a technology teacher. So I only see my students once a week for about 40 minutes a week, and they were learning in science about the environment and the ocean and water. And the fourth graders they had mealworms, and then after that they had some guppies and goldfish and things like that, little tanks. So Nicole and I came up with this activity. So it's broken down, and as you can see, as she's scrolling through it, everything is there for the teacher: the objectives, the standards, the description, all the lesson resources. So there's a writing organizer. There's a research choice board. So I had told her specifically which sea creatures we were interested in researching about. And then at the end, there were two ways for assessment. So the first assessment was for peer review. So the students could, as I called it, play each other's games. So again, so that they're not just doing that quick little checkbox. They had to make the best game because their classmates were going to play their games. And then at the very end, there was a rubric that I graded them on. And so again, I said that my fourth and fifth grader did the project. So even though this for science standards, it was based on fourth grade, just for ease of mind, because I have 400 students, I usually lump my fourth and fifth graders together so that they work on the same project, so that I'm not all over the place. So and then the fifth graders who did an exceptional job at their promotion ceremony received a certificate saying that they had the best game development. So that was their added bonus to really give them the buy-in to do a good job on the project. So what Nicole has opened first is the pre-writing organizer. And again, she's pasting links to the lesson and the activity in the chat. And I actually have my I don't know if you can see it, mine printed out, but she has it up on the screen as well. So every student received this. I use Google Classroom, so I didn't print them out for them. They each got the organizer in their Google Classroom. So we went through the directions, and the first thing they did was to their research. So again, I only see them for 40 minutes once a week. And it was towards the end of the year. We started doing this right after spring break, which was, I guess, March or April, and we had state testing in between. So what I do is I introduce the projects, and then I ask the classroom teachers as part of their science and or writing time for students to be able to work on the research. So this way, all the research time wasn't taken up during my class. So for those of you, it's if you're not able to open up the link, I'm just going to read the opening about the project. So it says, you are the designer of an interactive story called Ocean Mystery. In your story, the player explores the ocean, finds a clue, and tries to solve what will happen to a missing sea creature. Along the way, the player can make kind choices to help animals earn friendship points. So there were 2 animals. So the first one was the animal that was missing. Nicole, can you go to the research choice board? And the students were able to choose from either a sea turtle, a snail, fish, eel, horseshoe crab, jellyfish, coral, seaweed, or kelp, or some kind of ocean plant life, algae, seagrass, and plankton. And again, these were choices because this is what they were studying in their science unit. So the students had to choose one of these, and then Nicole provided 2 links to for research, and those were safe websites for them to look at. So National Geographic Kids, and I don't remember what the other one was, but there were 2 safe approved sites. And of course, they kept wanting to go to ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever they had access to. And I kept telling them, no, they had to do their own research, that was part of the project, that they weren't able to just copy and paste from ChatGPT, that I wanted them to really get to know the sea creatures. All right, so Nicole, you can go back to the organizer. Thank you. All right, so scroll down a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so they had to answer a couple of questions, nothing major. What animal is missing? Where did it live? What danger did it face? And a fun fact. And then they had to choose a second animal. It could not be 2 of the same. So that was my parameter. So they couldn't choose 2 sea turtles. I wanted them to be 2 different sea creatures. So when they coded, they didn't get confused. So the second sea creature, they had to figure out what animal's in trouble. So what did they choose? What problem is it having? Where does it live? What does it do or eat? And how may the player solve the problem? So they had to get some more information about that second sea creature. So again, I introduced this introduced the whole lesson. They spent probably about 20 minutes researching the first animal, and then they went back to their classrooms. And before I saw them the following week, they then came back with the research for the second animal. The students, my student makeup, I have students who are regular gen ed students. I have gifted and talented students. I have students who are multi-language learners. So some of them didn't speak any English at all. And then I have students with IAPs and 504s. So everybody was successful at their own level in the lesson. So don't feel that a lesson like this is above some of your students, because every student was able to be successful at their own level. So do the students choose? And yes, so they got to choose any animal that was on that chart, unless they asked me for something otherwise. So for example, one student wanted to do an axolotl, and I said an axolotl was fine, but where do axolotls live? Is it cold or hot? And I believe they said that it was warm. And I said, could you use a penguin and an axolotl? And they said no. So as long as they understood that it had to be realistic, I let them choose their own sea creatures. So they couldn't choose something that was warm and something that was cold. It had to both be in the same environment. All right, go ahead. You can go back to the other one. All right, so then the pre-writing and planning was step by step, exactly what you see. So in our first well, the first activity that we did, the all about me slides this morning, you saw it was page 1, page 2. I don't know if anybody went past page 2, but they're each page numbers. So the first one was just the title page, but then underneath that, where you see the pencil where it says Ocean Mystery, the case of the missing blank. All the students had to do was fill in the name of their sea creature. So the case of the missing sea turtle, for example. And then for the second part where it says you will create a number variable, that gives them the directions for the coding. So the only part they needed to fill in on the organizer at this exact moment was anything that had a pencil prompt. And a lot of the writing, it was exactly that. It was prompting them. So if you look at page 2, it said, who is missing? What does the player notice? Use your research facts here. What habitat is this creature from? And what is the goal for the player? So the first paragraph, and I'm going to show you samples in a minute. The first paragraph said, the water is blank and strange blank are floating. So I had my students who want to go ahead and write, who are great writers, they went ahead and they changed the wording. But those students who needed that prompting and needing that assistance, they were able to just fill in those blanks. So, and then here on this page 2, I wanted them to tell the person who is playing their game, tell the player why they're playing it. So I went into some school appropriate games such as Prodigy, and they got to look at things that they've used in their classrooms and look at how the games are laid out, how the descriptions are, and then they had to come up with some kind of description on that page too. So Nicole, before we go on to the rest of them, should I show some of the samples? Do you have them pulled up or you want me to pull them up?
I have them pulled up. So which one
Okay,
do you
good.
want to do first? I have Chase.
Yeah. Let's go into the third one, Angelica.
Zelica.
Yeah, okay. So now Angelica is a student who has only been in the country less than a year. So again, the title, oh, wait, go back for a second. So the title was exactly the way that it was written on the paper. The Ocean Mystery, the case of the scene just happened to be a sea turtle. So go ahead, you can go to the next one. And here you see again the fill in the blanks. The water is chilly and a strange coral is floating. The sea turtle is missing. Yep, click on the sea turtle. You see how that sea turtle was. Oh, wait, go back. You see how the sea turtle was glowing. So again, this is a student who's only been in the country for about a year. English is not her primary language. So here she had to tell the player what they're going to be doing. So you're about to enter the California beach. Once you enter the California beach, you see a mama turtle worried. You figure out that the sea turtle that is missing is a family member. Now notice you see that the spacing is not there. Maybe some capitalization issues, but that wasn't my goal because again, I wasn't teaching the writing component. I wanted them to have the research. I wanted them to have the coding, and I intentionally picked ones with errors because I want you to be able to see later on how you can give feedback and have your students edit these. But I intentionally wanted you to see student ones that were not edited yet. All right, go ahead. Now you can go, Nicole. Sorry. All right, so you see a crab stuck in a net. What will you do? And there's 2 choices, so please click on the kind choice. And the kind choice says, if the player chooses to help the crab, the player will earn 10 points. Did you know that a crab can regenerate the lost limb? So again, that was one of the facts that they had to find. You can click on next. And you see 2 paths in the reef. Swim through the pretty tunnel or swim past the beautiful coral. Nicole, is either the fish or the
This is
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I knew something was clickable. All right, so turtles can hear you, so I swim through the pretty tunnel. Okay. All right, you found the missing sea turtle, you finished the adventure, and you earned 10 kindness points. And again, in a few minutes when we go to code, you'll see how those 10 kindness points appear because that is coded. So what and Angelica did was that she took her thoughts, she put it into Google Translate, it translated it for her. She was able to copy and paste her words into the project. So it definitely took a little bit of time, but as you can see, she was definitely able to be very, very successful. Go to Dominic's, go to the fourth one. Okay, so now Dominic is a student that I had for 3 years, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and I couldn't get him to do any work at all. So he took up space, wouldn't do any work in my class, no coding, no nothing. In his regular gen ed classes, he was not cooperative, didn't do homework, didn't do classwork, wasn't too much of a behavior problem, but just was not interested in school. So I chose this because this was the last project we did, our fourth quarter, and he was just so incredibly successful that I cried because this is what you as a teacher hope for. So go ahead, you can click on it. So you could see the titles are all the same. The opening story is the same. The water is warm and strange. Items are floating. The electric eel is missing. And you should see that the electric eel is glowing. So that's a signal for the player to click on it. And you can go to the next page. You see a hermit crab flipped over. What will you do? Flip it back up or kick it. And I thought for sure he would only choose kick it, but you could click flip it back up. And you flip it over, it crawls over to a small plant. And as you can see, the images are really clear and crisp. So they're nice images that go with the stories. And you see two paths in the reef, swim through a rock wall or swim past a coral reef. Click on the bottle, please. And it says swim through the reef. So that's what we're going to do. And you went through the coral reef, you found the electric eel, and you got 10 kindness points. So again, if I was giving feedback on this one, I would have asked him to change the font color, maybe the font size. But as you can see, he spent considerable amount of time working on this. And for somebody who did nothing for me for 3 years, this was hugely successful. Okay, you can go to Chase. Now, that's the first one. Chase is very, very interested in art. He loves to write. He loves to draw. He acts. He's been in the school plays, but he's a very, very poor reader, very poor reading skills, and gets pulled out for reading and math. Okay, so again, some issues with capitalization. Again, if we had more time, I would have probably gone one with him to sit down and go over the capitalization. Again, as a classroom teacher, I would hope that you would be able to do something like that. I believe there is music, right, Nicole? There is music. Yep, she's got music in the background playing. Go ahead, you can go on. Okay, so again, same title, same opening. The water is cold and a strange, weird, bubbly substance is floating around. The sea snail is missing. Again, some spelling mistakes. Click on our. You see a snail stuck in a plastic bottle floating in the water. What will you do? You take the water bottle out of the water and help free the snail, or you're on the phone call and you don't realize it's a snail. So let's do the kind choice. You have now freed the snail. You are proud that you have saved a living creature. You go on with your day as you learn that snails can produce their own slime and climb on walls and floors. And you see two sides of the bridge. Click the arrow for the next slide. Where we reach for the plastic bottle and get pricked by a sea urchin, or you put your hand through a sharp rocky coral and get scraped. Let's go to the sea urchin. I don't remember which one brings you where, but I'll try that one. And there's this puffer fish. You try to take the snail out of the bottle, but all of a sudden you get pricked by the sea urchin. You flinch and immediately take your hand out of the water in pain, rushing to the doctor, leaving the snail behind. So again, he writes very creatively. All right, you have now put the snail gently in the water and make sure that it's hydrated. Congratulations, you beat the game. You have earned 30 kindness points. If you didn't get any points, it's okay. There's always next time. So again, this is giving students who normally are not school focused the opportunity to be creative. We could see the beautiful backgrounds they chose. You can see the beautiful images they chose and just their thought process of what they're writing. All right, let's go to Maya. Now, Maya is one of my best students. She won all kinds of awards at the 5th grade promotion for technology. Her family members are also in the computer science field. But just give you an idea. The water is unstirred and strange rumors are floating. The gulper eel is missing. The gulper eel has been reported as missing. You are currently in the shallows, but gulper eels live deeper in the ocean, so you will need to dive. You grab your supplies and start the journey down. So again, as you can see, she's giving some more background information for the player. You see a hurt clownfish stuck in a plastic bag. What will you do? So those are two different images. It's a clownfish, and then she put the bag on top of the clownfish. So Nicole, let's just go to the wrong one for a minute, the unkind choice. So click on leave the hurt clownfish and continue. So you swim by the clownfish, not wanting to waste any time on the gulper eel. Clownfish and anemones have a bond because they help each other, but this clownfish won't be able to help the anemone because it can't see. Was this the right choice? So again, I had Nicole intentionally choose the wrong choice. Okay, click next. All right, you found the gulper eel, but he is trapped under some rocks. How will you help him? And again, that's two different images, the rock and the eel. I think you're supposed to click on the eel. It looks like some rocks fell on the poor gulper eel. I guess break them apart with a jackhammer. Let's see what happens. You finish the adventure and earn 0 kindness points, obviously because we were unkind. So if we had gone through the kind choice, we would have received kind points. And I let them choose how many points they wanted to choose. All right, Nicole, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, so even though this planning sheet is for, lower elementary or middle, I guess it's middle elementary grade levels, choose your own adventure. You see the template here has 7 pages. So I saw that some students had more than 7 pages. They went above and beyond the required number of pages. But you can take the same format of having choices wrapped in a narrative and place it in pretty much any topic. So like I said, I wanted to make a hero's journey one, but I didn't get around to it yet. But maybe we can do it together if you're interested on Thursday, Friday, the creation process of creating these sort of templates and creating the step-by-step guides on elementary. So the first step is they fill it all out, right? And then they do that in their regular classroom. Is that correct? Page?
Yeah. So we started in my classroom just so that they can have an idea. Just scroll down just a little bit so they could see the word banks. So again, for those students who are really stuck with writing, there was a word bank there that Nicole provided. So this way they could pull some words from there if they weren't sure what they wanted to use. And of course, we do have the check boxes underneath because we wanted to make sure that they had finished all of those things before they started coding. I did have some students who did not get to finish their entire organizer, and I did let them start coding anyway, so at least they would have the first few pages of code because I knew at that point there wouldn't be any time left for them. If you find that you have students who are higher level thinkers in third grade, you could definitely do this as a third grade project. I don't know about going below third grade, but this is absolutely, Miss K just said she would use this for eighth grade. You could definitely do something like this all the way up through high school. It would depend on how much of the research that they're going to be doing.
So we have a really great question. How long did it take you to do the project?
Right. What did we say? It was about 225 minutes, I think. You had that at the very beginning on,
I wasn't sure if that's correct. I feel like some
yeah,
take longer. The
yeah, about
hardest part
5
is,
classes.
yeah, the hardest part is always the pre-writing, the research and the pre-writing. That is the hardest part that takes the longest amount of time by far. Because once they have their pre-writing done and they know what they're going to write, they can actually go from their organizer and copy the text using Control C, going into Elementary, and then they're just pasting their text. So if they write this, then they can use that like as a base. They don't have to like rewrite it. They just Control C, Control V and paste it in. And I try to make the organizer so it aligns exactly with the lesson.
So the majority of my students, most of the regular gen eds, academic, middle of the road kids, were able to do the research of the two animals the first 40 minutes. Majority of them. Some of them needed a second period, but the majority of them used the did that part in the first 40 minutes. And then the writing part, I would probably say took another 2 40-minute class periods. And again, I tried to work with the classroom teachers to let them give them time either during their science unit or their writing unit or during free time. So some of the students we had indoor recess because it was a lot of rain in the spring. So a lot of them did that at the same time too. So then probably when they came to me to code, I would say some students finished within one class period, depending on how much they put into it. And some students could take 2 or 3 class periods. So in my classroom, it took about 5 40-minute periods. And then I would say probably an additional 2 periods outside of my classroom.
So I think in the slides, where is it? I'm here. The slides, we have 2, Ocean Mystery, Choose Your Own Adventure, and Justice Simulator. Justice Simulator, that lesson is pretty much the exact same structure as the Ocean Mystery Adventure. So if you look at the writing organizer, I think it has a couple more pages. So it's a little bit more complicated. So you have 2 different endings. But it's pretty much the same idea. You're not doing anything more complicated in terms of the code. The code itself is the same level of coding from the 3rd grade level to the 12th grade level in this example. It's just the writing and the research part that has really changed. Does anyone have any questions at this time about anything? Keep going in the wrong places.
So I put links to both of those in the chat, Nicole.
So if there's no questions, we can go ahead and get into one of the projects then to see what it's like. So, and can we open up the breakout rooms so that people have, have the option for tech support? Let me stop the share really quick.
Nicole, so sorry to interrupt. I don't see that slide deck. Am I missing something?
Oh, let me share it again. I did send out an email for it, but
You know what? No. I'm sorry. You're on the afternoon slide deck. My
yeah,
fault.
sorry. I'm on the afternoon slide deck and we skipped parts of the morning because I overloaded my time. I was too ambitious. So we'll go back to some of the things that we didn't cover on in the morning a little bit later, but I think right now we'll spend some time to just go through the lesson on the afternoon slide deck. Let me share out the link if people want that as well.
So Nicole, I did open up the breakout rooms. Do you want me to set up 2 rooms, one for help with
Yeah.
mystery and one for help with the justice simulator,
Um,
and then just one for tech support?
I think we'll just we'll just see who needs help.
Okay.
Just see who needs help and go
Okay.
with that.
And so if
Um,
anybody needs anything, just put it in the chat.
okay. So quick question, how many people here are just listening in and want to see me go through the lesson? Okay, so we have some people listening in. Do you have a preference for which lesson? So I have a question. I'm really interested in trying to build one. Is that like building one yourself? So if you are, then go ahead and build. You have the links. If you're talking about building your own choose your own adventure lesson, similar to the ocean one that's aligned to your curriculum, we're going to be working on that on day 4 or 5 if you're interested.
Okay. Is it okay to just ask a question verbally like this?
Yep, that's fine.
So are we choosing the choose your own ocean mystery and we're building those? Is that what you're asking us? Or are you asking us if we want to watch you build one?
So, sorry, okay, so you can either choose to listen in. And if you do choose to listen in, please just let me know which one to build. Or you can also build your own, following the instructions for the 2 projects. So we have for the
Like-
2 projects,
Like we did this morning.
just like how you did this morning. So
Okay, so if I choose the choose your own adventure one, am I choosing remix or am I choosing, is that something that's going to teach me how to build that? I'm
yes, you will
sorry.
build that. Yes. So let me go through it. You can do it with me. Go to the choose your own. No, these are all great questions. So go to the lesson page where it has choose your own ocean mystery, just like, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. So just like this page here. Let me share my screen also so you can see better. Okay, so just like my screen here, you'll have choose your own ocean mystery. You have an orange start button. You click on the start button. You click for yourself. And it will launch the lesson. So you should see something like this. And milestone 1 is all of the pre-writing stuff. So milestone 1 says, choose your mystery. Pick one ocean creature that's missing and one that needs help. Use the Ocean Research Choice Board to research their habitats and problems. Complete your Ocean Mystery Writing Organizer. And if you click on Ocean Mystery Writing Organizer, it'll ask you to copy the document. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the document.
Can I ask another question while
Yep.
you're doing? Okay, so when my students, when I set this up for my students, they're going to follow the instructions just like we were this morning.
Yes.
Okay. When
Yes.
I'm ready to actually create a lesson, all of the things that I'm seeing in the activity that I'm doing this morning, all those little instructions on the side and the way that it makes me do certain things before I move on, is that what I'm going to be writing as the teacher for them?
Yes. Yes. In the future, yes, on Thursday, Friday, I'll show you how to do the
Awesome.
lesson builder so you can create your own choose your own adventure that's aligned to whatever you're doing. So you don't have to copy this
Got it.
ocean mystery, but you can align it to, I don't know, hero's journey or animal
You keep saying
adaptation.
that. You keep saying hero's journey, and that's one of my favorite things. So I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay, well, I wanted to finish it and then
That's okay.
and
It's
then
okay.
I got caught up in other stuff. So, so it's half
I'll
finished.
try and work on that on Thursday. All right,
Yeah,
I'll be
but we
quiet.
can work on that together on
Really good. Thank
Thursday.
you for clarifying everything for me. And sorry to the rest of you if you already
Oh,
got
no,
this.
no. No. All questions are welcome here. Please feel free to ask. Okay, I talk really, really fast, and you just have to be like, slow down a little. It's okay. Everything will be fine, because when I get excited, everything goes fast for me. So what I just did, let's do a recap. I went to press the start button on the lesson plan. And then I got into this project of Choose Your Own Ocean Mystery. Now it's asking me to complete the research choice board and the ocean mystery writing organizer. So I clicked on those things. Ocean research choice board opens up and it gives me, the links and stuff. And I can click on the links to see. So let's say, let's go into my ocean mystery writing organizer. I'm going to call this Nicole Ocean Mystery Writing Organizer. And I'm going to just follow through this writing organizer. So it says, step 1, I have to do some of my research. So I can start my research with this choice board, and I need to pick 2 different animals. I'm just going to do that really quick. Let's say I like snails and I like jellyfish. So let's go ahead and look about jellyfish. So all about jellies. I'm going to go ahead and complete this to my best ability. And for the sake of time, what animal is missing? Let's do jellyfish. Where do jellyfish live? Well, they live in the ocean. Is there something more specific than ocean? Oh, these are pretty images. Let's just say they live in the ocean for the. Anybody know what dangerous jellyfish face? Let's look. Danger. What are they dangerous to humans? Jellyfish. National Geographic Kids. It should give me something good, right? They died on fish, shrimp, crab, and tiny plants. I'm pretty sure this is something that I ask for. What do they eat? Oh, I don't even ask for it in this one. What does it face? What dangers do jellyfish face? Paige, do you know what dangers jellyfish face? Plastic?
Yes, yeah, I put in pollution,
Okay.
plastic bags.
Okay, pollution. Everything faces pollution. We face pollution, jellyfish faces pollution. Fun facts, let's go. They have tiny stinger cells. Inside their belly-shaped body is an opening that is its mouth. They eat and discard waste. So they eat and discard waste from their mouth. That's a pretty interesting fact. They eat and discard waste from their mouth. So you just go through this. We won't go through the entire organizer, but you get the point. They'll go through all of this and they'll come up with, their sentences and all of their writing. Let's go back to actually coding things now. So once they're done with most of their writing and their organization stuff, you click on next milestone and it'll go step by step again. Oh no, Wonderopolis is closing. That's so sad. That makes me very sad. I have to change all those links. Okay, so first I need to add a text box, which is my title. I'm going to call it Ocean Mystery Case Missing Jellyfish. And once again, if anyone needs help, feel free to ask, and we'll put you in one of the breakout rooms. Are the breakout rooms open right now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to get ready to code. And to code, we need to go to the event graph side. You click on the button at the top, flip it over, and we go to the back end. So I can now grab my on-page start. I can grab my play text effect, and I can go ahead and grab my text box. How do I connect my blocks together so that they work? Well, I have my white triangle, and it goes and fills in the white triangle here. The purple circle, and it goes and fills in the purple circle on the play text effect. Okay, let's go ahead and change the effect. What does Starfall look like? Starfall looks cool. Let's go with Starfall, and let's click on the preview button. Oh, I clicked on the preview button too early. There you go. So then the next step is to deal with variables. We'll talk about variables a little bit later. But variables are containers that hold data. And in particular, this variable is a number variable. They're all blue. So number variables are containers that store only numbers. So these numbers can be positive, negative, or even decimals. And the reason why we have these number variables in this project is that we want to hold on to how many kindness points the player will have through their choices in the game. So we're going to go ahead and create a number variable plus, and we're going to call it points. It's okay if you don't really understand what number variables are and all that. We have separate sections on variables to cover those concepts. And then we click on preview. So once again, you see everything goes step by step, so you have a great idea of how it works. So I'll let you guys kind of just like play around with it. And we're going to move on a little bit to talk about some collaboration tips, because we talked a lot about collaboration, and I want Paige to kind of go over what it really looks like, because it's great to say we're going to collaborate on this, but how does it actually work? And I really want to focus on that part. So, and it's fine if you don't finish any of these projects. It's just to give you a taste of what the projects are like, because like I always talk about, it's really the writing and all that that's the most important. The steps here are pretty much auto-generated, and you'll do that on Thursday, Friday. So don't worry about the coding side too much. Okay, so let's go back to the slides and talk about collaboration. And
Ready?
there we go.
Right. So I had mentioned in the chat earlier about the collaboration feature. So if you wanted, you could definitely partner up your students to work on the same project at the same time. Nicole's going to talk more about that another time, but I just want to mention that more than one student can work on the same exact project at once. So just keep that in the back of your mind for students that you think might need that extra assistance. So I have students who might be really good at writing, but terrible at coding. I might have students who are terrible at coding, but really good at writing, or the artistic end of it. So it's definitely good to partner them up. But we want our students to be able to talk to each other. So one of my huge pet peeves, and I know everybody's been sharing, is that students don't talk to each other, even if they're in the same room, obviously not at school, but if they're in the same room together, or maybe in a car together, they're texting each other. They're not speaking out loud. They may be playing some video game with somebody, but they're not talking to the people that they're talking to. So to me, it's really important that they're able to work with another student and to share what they're doing and actually have a conversation. So they also are able to debug each other's projects. Obviously spelling mistakes, commas, capitalizations, that's a main thing, but also to be able to say, well, my code's not working. Why is it not working? So they can check each other's mistakes. And of course, break down the project into smaller pieces. So, and this goes for any kind of project. Doesn't matter what I'm teaching. I always like my students to be able to work together, even if they're not working on the same identical project, at least to be able to discuss what they're doing. So, Nicole, you can go to the next slide. So one of the things is peer programming. So again, we'll talk more about how you can get your students to work on the same project at the same time. And in that case, I do something called group work with roles. I'll talk about that in a minute. They can also remix each other's projects. And I know that a lot of people, including myself, we do not use Scratch in my district because we don't like the students opening up other people's inappropriate projects and then remixing them. So, but here everything is very private. So you don't have to worry about people going in and hopefully doing anything that's inappropriate. And of course, as the teacher, you can see everything that you're doing, that the students are doing in real time. So you don't have to worry about, even if they do something inappropriate, you'll be able to see it. And then, of course, there's feedback and commenting. Nicole, do you want to talk about any of these, or do you want to just hold off and wait till you show those features?
I think we could just talk about a little bit about what pair programming is and all
Okay.
that stuff. So,
Okay, so
Yeah.
pair programming is when two students usually are working together. So one student may be using the keyboard and the other student is telling them what to type. So maybe one student can't really due to maybe accessibility features, they need assistance with the keyboarding or with the mouse part. So one person would do the input and the other person would be just telling them what to write or giving them the ideas. You can definitely pair students with similar interests, similar abilities. But one of the things that I do that I had mentioned a little bit before, a strong reader with a weaker reader, maybe a strong coder with a weaker coder. Usually my strong readers might be weaker coders. So that's definitely a possibility. I've used the elementary platform a lot and paired up different grades. So I'll have fifth grade students go into the second grade classrooms and assist them in creating stories. So that my second graders did not do this ocean mystery activity, but they've done a lot of other activities where they create their own stories. So the fifth graders will go in and work with the younger grades. And of course, you can pair up students who are shy with an outgoing student. And there's a link in the bottom of that screen that will bring you to a book written about computer science in K-12 that gives you all kinds of different ideas. And also, I believe that report comes from Harvard. So it gives you all kinds of, you just go into it and download it yourself and it'll go right to your computer. So you can go to the group program. So this is one of my favorite things to do especially when I use elementary, is to have 4 students work together on the same project. So not particularly this ocean mystery, they worked individually, but I've done a lot of stories where the students have worked together for either 3 or 4 at one time. So we've had one person do the illustrations. So they'll be the ones who pick the background, the ones who pick the images, the one who picks the sounds. We'll have somebody do the writing part of it. So they'll add the text boxes and they'll put in the storyline. We'll have somebody that's doing the programming, who's using the event graph and putting in all the attaching all the blocks. so that the program does what it's supposed to. And then, of course, there's the debugger who's helping with everything, saying, well, I can't see that font. It's too chunky. I personally don't like bangers as my subtitle font. So I have them go in and change it to something that's easily accessible to read. The debugger will also see that if remember before we saw like the eel was glowing, well, if the eel's not glowing and it's supposed to be glowing, why is it not? So what's going on with the programming problems? What's going on with capitalization, punctuation, spelling, things like that. So this way they're working together to split up the tasks. Now you can also do the same type of thing with 2 or 3 people and just shuffle the different roles. So if anybody has any questions while I'm talking, please throw them in the chat and we can talk about that a little bit more as well as you're going. And if you need any help while you're coding, let us know. Nicole is available, as well as tech support and myself.
So hold on one second, let me go backwards. So back to group programming, another thing that you can do is splitting by different pages. So if a person, if like, for example, you're doing a choose your own adventure, sometimes you don't have that much time to write a choose your own adventure. Maybe you only have a little bit of like maybe 1 class period to do it. What you can do is you can split up so that, okay, one person does ending 1, one person writes the ending for ending 2, and then the other person writes, I don't know, the introduction, and you can split it up by page. I really love sticky notes for this. So you can use sticky notes as a visual marker, what each slide should be. So you can then map out your choose your own adventure and the different paths easily. And they're really, really, really useful.
One other thing I wanted to mention, you just jogged my memory, Nicole, is that when we do stories and they have different characters, we do the voiceovers, and different students will do different parts of the voiceover. So if in my All About Me one that I created, it'll be me talking, but then I might say, and Nicole is my friend, and then I would have a picture of Nicole joining me, and then have Nicole introduce herself. So we definitely have more than one student doing voiceovers on the slides as well. And they really enjoy that because then they're working together.
Yeah, voiceovers are a hit for younger grades. So, so great for them because especially if they write their text and then they have to read what they've written, most of the time they realize that what they've written might not be that great. So then they do a revision stage that if you were to just tell them, oh, you have to, write it again, they would have never done that otherwise.
My ESL teachers like the voiceovers as well, because this way the students are practicing their speaking skills, and also the world languages teachers at the middle and the high school do like it, because again the students are then practicing their language skills, their literacy skills in their language that they're learning. So definitely lots of uses.
Okay, so remixing, if you're familiar with Scratch, it's kind of the same idea. You take an existing project and you can just copy it and create your own version. So this example in particular was done by a high school EFL teacher, so English as a foreign language teacher. And she created a template and had students then remix it, write the text so that I think this one was to make the fable make sense, and then record a voiceover. Oh, maybe this is, which one is this one? Oh, sorry. She did 2 projects. The first one was a fractured fairy tale. So She gave instructions. This was way back in the day before we had the step-by-step. So people had to write instructions in a slide. Then they had to do a bit of pre-writing. It was a long time ago, so ignore that, but the idea is here. So this is the fable. You see it just has add subtitle, type your text here, type your text here. And so they had to come up with all of the text so that the moral of the story made sense, essentially. Union is strength.
The hyena
So I don't know if you can hear the audio. Okay.
and the three zebras. A fable. There was a village where zebras lived together. Especially there lived three zebra brothers. Two were greedy and lazy, and one was kind and diligent. I'm the first boy, so I have to eat more than you. What? No way! We can all share it together.
Yeah, so then they go through the entire project in a similar way. So the reason why remixing stories is really helpful is, of course, solves blank page syndrome, gives structure in writing, and it's really a great place to start to just explore. So remixing is a feature that is available for any student project. So you can take any project that has been published. There's a little button called Remix. You can click on it and it will create a copy for you to work on. That's a great idea. So there's a great idea in chat. Students can create a story for another class and or student or group, and they can reciprocate. We actually had a teacher who did that during COVID. She called them buddy books, where they would write a story to their buddy and send it to them because everyone was virtual and separated. So yeah, it's a great idea. The main thing is when you create something, you give them a purpose and an audience. Nobody wants something, no one wants to put an effort for something that nobody else cares about. It's just human nature. Doesn't matter if you're a student or if you're a kid or an adult, right? We don't want to do something pointless. Okay, so a little bit about feedback and commenting. So you can do feedback like you do with any project, gallery walks, peer swaps, looking around at other people's work. But on Elementary, we also have a classroom library. So every classroom you create has a library, which has all of the published work of your students in one place. And there they can go into each other's projects and actually comment on their projects. So I don't know if you have your classroom library. Let's see. Did any of your students publish? Paige?
I'm looking to see who's I know some of them did.
Well, it doesn't matter. Which one is the class that that has a lot of work in it?
Go to Weber.
Weber 2025?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So let me go into oh, I don't think this one has anything published yet. I think it's all in draft. All right, but this is what Paige's classroom looks like for Weber, and you'll see that you have all the projects here. This one's waiting to be published, that's why. And you have some stats about how long they spent on it and overall total time. So once it's published, you'll have all the student stories, and you can actually just share the link to your classroom, and it will show only the published projects. So then they can go in. So they can then go into the project. Oh, this is to publish. Hold on.
You want to try another one, or did you find one?
Still looking.
All right, try Scorzo, Scuorzo. I know I do have students who published, so.
I think some of them are just waiting to be approved. Scorzo.
Yeah, it's possible I didn't approve them.
Yeah, this one has. This one does.
Hmm.
So I'm going to open into Incognito so you can see what that looks like if you share it out. And so there you go. So this is an example of what you can share out. These are all published projects, and they all live on your classroom page. So in your classroom page, you'll have the lessons that they went through. So in this case, they did this lesson, and when you click in, you'll see all of the students' projects. If I click in to one of the projects, I won't be able to give any comments or view the comments because I'm currently in incognito. So that means I'm not logged in as a student in her class. But if I am a student in her class, then I will be able to comment on this project and view other people's comments for this project. So just a quick aside. And of course, it's really important to model and scaffold effective and constructive feedback. Can't stress that enough. And that's why all of the new lessons have a feedback form attached to them. So like a peer review or a peer test, play test, and that should be included when you're thinking about how much time you need to spend on the project. You should leave some time for the play test peer feedback segments. I don't know if Paige wants to talk a little bit more about that.
So the way that I had my students give feedback, we used the feedback form that came with the lesson. So the students had to complete the form. What I did was I think I even ended up shrinking it a little bit and putting it into a chart. Let's see if I could find what I did. And then share that. I'll look for
Yeah,
that
this
afterwards.
was the original form.
Right. So that's the original form. But then what happened was they would play one person's game. And again, I kept talking about them. You're playing somebody else's game because then it's not like you're reading somebody else's story. So and then they would fill out this form. And then I found that they were like looking at like 10 or 12 other people. So I ended up putting it into, I think, a spreadsheet. I'll have to look and see what I ended up putting, but it was exactly the same questions. So and then they had to vote on whose game was the best because I really wanted them to spend a lot of time working on it and not just checking the boxes. Yeah, I showed a clue. A clue showed a message. I did that. And so, but I wanted them to say, well, mine was the best out of the whole class. So the peer review in my class was really important. So if they published each other's game, if they published, then they were able to see each other's games. Otherwise, we used Google Classroom, and they took that link that we all used to share in the chat, and they were able to share that in Google Classroom and just look at each other's projects that way. And then a third way that I've done it, not with this project, with other projects, is the gallery walk. So they'll put up their project on we use Chromebook, so they'll put it up on their Chromebook, and then the students get up and out of their seat and went around and played each other's games. So this way they're also moving, but that depends if you want them touching each other's stuff. So that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to finish up this collaboration thing because there's one last slide. And so just general tips, set clear roles, goals, deadlines, all the stuff that you probably all know how to do so well. Really celebrate the little wins and the shared publishing and scaffold the feedback as much as possible. Give lots of examples on what's good feedback and making sure to model that. So anything else you want to add before we go on a break and take a breather?
I don't think so, but if anybody has any questions, definitely stick it in the chat. Definitely would love to answer any questions. So, and if anybody finds a replacement for Wonderopolis, please let us know.
So are we going to create a choose your own adventure on your own now? So you can go through the lesson, either the Justice Simulator or the Ocean Mystery lesson, and create a choose your own adventure based on one of those. So you're free to do that, to go ahead and start the lesson and go through step by step. As for creating a choose your own adventure lesson, if that's of interest, that's going to be done later in the week once we have a better understanding of the kind of like tools capabilities. Any other questions? Otherwise, if no one has any questions, let's take a break and we'll come back in around 10 minutes and we will continue with either a breakout to talk about all the stuff that we did today, or we could just move on. We'll have a vote. We'll see what you all want to do next. Okay? So take a breather, take a break, go have a coffee, go get a snack. I know I'm going to, and see you in around 10 more minutes. Oh no, I was muted the whole time. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I'm back. I hope you're all back. And I was just talking into the void. But let me just recap and basically tell you about the schedule upcoming. So I was very ambitious in the day one schedule. We will be moving text variables to tomorrow. And instead, we will have Louana come on to talk about how she's used elementary in her classroom because she provides a very interesting perspective as a regular classroom teacher. So she'll go through some of the examples there, and hopefully that will help you generate some ideas about what kind of lesson you want to create for the upcoming school year and how you might want to integrate that. Because the goal of this PD, once again, is to really support you in creating something that is really customized for your unit of study or for your curriculum. So then following Louana, we'll go through a breakout, hopefully, and then we can chat a little bit about some ideas. And if you have any questions about anything, I'm here as well. And then we'll go through some boring classroom onboarding technicalities. So let's get right at it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Where am I? Okay, Louana, if you want to come in and just talk about this.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Louana Prunty. A little bit of background on me. I'm heading into my 15th year of classroom teaching. Thanks for the heart, Jackie. Love you too. And I have taught kinder, first, fourth, fifth, sixth ELA, sixth social studies, and this coming year I'll be teaching sixth computer science. So the first way that I used elementary with my sixth graders were for novel summaries. Each year we read Bud Not Buddy, and I had been working with elementary a little bit, dabbling a little bit in it, and I decided that I wanted to do something a little bit more substantial and create a project with it. So as we were reading Bud Not Buddy, for every 2 chapters we read, the students would create a summary, and there are links in the slide deck, and you guys can check those out. Like this one right here was made by one of my students, Ariana. And so they had to create a scene with images and text and all of that from the novel. And so there's you'll notice on the bottom it was a long project. And so we would take like 30 minutes after we've read 2 chapters, we take 30 minutes, and then they would create the next set of slides. So it lasted us probably about half a quarter for us to get through everything all together. But we were doing the slides as we were going through. So that way, the kids were able to engage with the text a lot more because they had to really pick out those tiny little details to help create the images. They had to chat with each other about what happened over those 2 chapters so they would get those big ideas that they wanted to put into their text. They included animations on their screen. Some of them did. One of my favorite one has the bees that they're the wasps that Bud finds in the shed, and they're just flying all around the screen. That was one of my favorite animations. The kids really enjoyed this particular scene right here where his foster brother Todd wets the bed. They all thought that was hilarious. So this was, kind of a fun project, very different from, hey, I want you to just write me a essay summarizing Bud Not Bunny. And it's not, a big text, but for 6th graders, it's a bigger text. And it's just too much for them to then try to pick out like 1 or 2 main details. But this was a way for them to pick out several details, a couple of chapters at a time. Yeah, it was just a way for them to bring what they're picturing in their heads as they're reading into their brains.
I think I mixed up the images.
That's okay. This one's one of my kiddos, Mason. So you notice the picture that he used in the background was an image that he had uploaded because I did have a pro account at the time. So he uploaded that image and then included it into his document. This one is also uploaded images. And I told them, I was like, hey, let's pay attention to the details. What do the characters look like? And I really want you to try and recreate those characters. So they adjusted their animated characters or tried to find icons that were similar to the people in the novel itself.
Okay, so then you did something very different afterwards.
Yes, last year, our 6th graders in social studies, we worked on interactive maps. This lesson, Nicole and I developed together because we had just finished studying about the different landforms in the United States. And so the kids had to choose 2 landforms. They had to research both of those landforms, which is included in the lesson, which was so helpful. The resources were so helpful for the kiddos. And then this one, they were doing the drag over event. So that way, when you pick up the character, you could drag it over one of the landforms and it would take you to the page or 2 pages about information on that particular landform. And they had Nicole did a great job of including lots of resources for the kids to go to find, because one of the things I discovered when I went up to middle school and teaching fifth grade is that it was really hard for them to, well, where do I go to find this information? And oh, look, the AI, I'm just going to copy what it says in the little AI summary up at the top of the page instead of clicking on a web page and reading through that web page and then picking out the information that they wanted to include into the thing. So it really was a good lesson on how to do research as well as remembering what they learned about the different landforms of the United States. And then they downloaded, again, they used the upload feature to get images from Google to include into their interactive maps. And they had a really good time with this one. There was a lot of debugging that needed to go on because they were like, well, I'm moving my character, but it's not popping up the right page, or it's not popping up anything at all. And where's my text? And so there's a lot of debugging that we had to go through to help them, which was great for their problem solving. I was like, so you'd have to stop and think, what is it that you want to happen right now? And so they'd have to stop and think, well, I need this to do this. Let's go look at your code. And then we go through step by step. And they'd be like, oh, I forgot to change the page to page 2, or this is not connected to the right spot, and things like that. So it was great as far as getting them into the coding pieces, getting them to debug, getting them to recall information, getting them to research. So it was so many things all combined into like one project. And this project took us a little bit longer than I thought I would. This particular class that I had, the group of sixth graders, they really struggled with timing and being able to stay on task for large periods of time. So it took us probably about 2.5 weeks to make sure that I got everybody through it. My kids that were done, they got to go. I have a specific list of may do's or can do's when they're done with all of their work. So they got to go either create other elementary stories, or they got to go on to Scratch, or they got to go read a book, or any of those kinds of things while they're waiting for their other classmates. I had a lot of kids volunteer to help. Hey, I can help them code. And I'm like, yeah, go at it, because there's only one of me. And there were like 31 of them on almost every class. So it was really important for those kids who were able to finish, could go and help the other kids. Do you guys have any questions about either of those projects? Anything you would like to know? I guess we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. We'll see if anybody has any questions as it rolls in. So, I know I would like to do, let's see. First of all, how many of us here are actually able to do breakouts? Because I do know we have just some people who have it playing in the background. Do we have anyone who wants to brainstorm and talk? So the question is, did they make the pages themselves, or did they work through a lesson you made? That's a great question. Louana?
It was a lesson that Nicole and I had made previously. It included like Pages lessons. It had that whole sheet that they filled out step by step that took them through the coding parts. It took them through the research parts. For Paige's question, no, I did not proofread them with my students. I did not personally. They did do a peer review with each other, and they were given, the specific criteria of what they needed to look for. I was not focused on like the spelling and the grammar at that point. I just wanted to find out, whether they could do the research and gather the information they wanted, and whether then they could put, make some semblance of a sentence that matched with what they were trying to talk about.
So I really quickly shared the U.S. landforms interactive map. It's on Elementary. This is the one that her students went and worked through. I think someone was trying to say something. Sorry.
Page, the capitalization and punctuation was a big thing. So as they were working, I'd just be walking around. I'd be like, hey, you should capitalize the beginning of states and special places like the Grand Canyon. So I would just sort of, as I was mingling with them, I was sort of making sure, hey, I don't see a period at the end. Is that the end of your sentence? But it wasn't like anything super formal.
So Paige, what do you think? Do
I
we
think we should try to go into breakout rooms and let
Okay.
people,
maybe they can choose
and
to go in instead of assigning?
yeah, so that's a good idea. I'll open up. I have, I
Maybe we
think
could grade
4
band them a little
rooms.
bit, or just
Okay.
random. Doesn't matter.
Let me see if I can change them. I think the ones that we already have created, it's just room 2, I can't go in and change the name. Should I close them and then reopen them all again?
Yeah, close them and then reopen them. I think that's the easiest because I
Okay.
can't rename them either on my side.
Okay. Yeah, and then this way people can choose. It's going to give me about 40 seconds, which room they would like to go into or not to go into any room at all. And if you can't choose a room, but you want to go into a room, once they open, put it in the chat, and then we can manually move you if you're not able to do that yourself. And there's some devices you can't move yourself. I'm just waiting for the old ones to close so I can open the new one.
So if you don't know exactly what to talk about, here are some starting points. You could just introduce yourself as well, just chill out. But there are just some questions to kind of help you out. Basically, how might you adapt any of the projects you've seen in your class? Also general classroom things, how might you manage your projects, and what's one possible roadblock you can see? And let's see if we can troubleshoot some of that. Someone says, I've been pronouncing it Elementari. Don't worry, it's you and everyone else in the world because I'm the only one who says elementary. I think Louana also said Elementari. Everyone says Elementari. I'm like, I should just change it at this point.
Okay, I just created a bunch of rooms. There's a room, there's a K3 room, a 4-5 room, a 6-8 room, and a 9-12 room.
Okay.
So if you're not able to get to a room and you know which grade band you would like, just put in the chat and I can physically move you.
And then maybe Louana, you can join. I don't know. Are you technically 6 now that you teach? 7? I don't even know what grade you teach.
Well, basically, this year I'll be 6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, 8. Well, I'm gonna ship you off to 6, 7, and 8 room. Someone is 9, 12. Okay. We have a
Yeah, I got it.
And I'll try to see if I can join in. Or hold on one second. Let me go get my husband to join a room too.
Okay, so again, if somebody wants to join, of room, but you're not able to move on your own, just stick it in the chat, or it's easier if you do that than unmuting, because this way I see your name and I can just click on your name and move you over.
I'm going to go ahead and join the 912 room. Hello, hello, my wonderful fellows. Are we all here? Can we all introduce ourselves really quickly? What you teach, subject, things like that?
Hi, I'm Ben. I teach high school chemistry, so mostly juniors, but some sophomores, some seniors.
Hi, I'm Julia. I teach, well, last year I taught English in juvenile detention. Mostly that's high school, but technically it's 10 to I think 19 at this point. So it varies widely in the same classroom. So yeah.
Hi, all. I'm a high school teacher librarian, 9th through 12th grade, and I also teach and run a program for the teacher librarian credential at university.
Any last ones? Everyone else is just chilling?
It's good to chill. It's been a big day.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm a bit tired. I haven't done days like this in a
Yeah,
while,
who's
you
in charge
know?
of this show?
Huh? It's a bit hard. I used to run like STEM camps all day, all night, and now I'm like, man, this is tiring now. Anyway, first of all, do you guys have any questions straight off the bat? I know a lot of our examples are more like more like 4, 5, 6, 8 focused. But it's like, do you have anything like that comes to mind of questions or concerns or anything?
I have maybe like a very basic one. Is there a page limit or a slide limit?
Yeah, this is a great question. No, there's no page limit, there's no slide limit. It might get buggy if you have more than like, I don't know, 10 collaborators on a book or something. Or like, so if you're all working on the same project at the same time, if you have too many of them, it might get a little buggy. But if you have just like a couple people on a project working together, it's fine. So,
Is that just because it can't sync that many at the same time, like the slides?
it's more of a technical thing. It's because like WebSockets don't like to talk to each other that much. Sometimes you have packets missing. It's just a technical thing. That's why. So, yeah. It
Yeah, the reason I asked was because I was thinking about like, what if I used it for my students for like a year-long review? But that could be just a lot of pages, right? You could imagine in the course of a year getting up to like 50, 60 pages pretty easily. Is it going to slow down then? Probably, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it would slow down on load because once you get past like, I have some projects, some stories that are like what 30 pages, like a choose your own adventure, 40 pages. And like the initial load will slow down because you are loading more assets at one time. So if possible, if you're doing it like as a design notebook, which is like I think a pretty standard case for high school, it would just be like maybe to break it down by week or something. So each book is a week. That could be something to just speed things up. And also for when if you want to do any like peer reviewing, it might be easier to go to week 2 instead of slide 60. Does anyone have any other questions or any ideas maybe that you want to bounce off?
So what high school examples have you like seen? Or what, I don't know, what's the like best use?
Um, it depends on the type of so like your chemistry, right? So we haven't seen use of chemistry at a high school level. We've seen it maybe for middle, I think with middle school I saw it once used in like Italy or something. And they basically used it to just document their processes in a more like creative way. What we could do is, because I haven't run any, so we have created a GPT auto prompter thing that spits out some ideas that you can maybe use, and we can put in exactly what standard you want to focus on and then see what it spits out. The main concern is just when you're thinking about projects in elementary from a design perspective is like, how much time do you want to spend allotted to this, creation, like coding phase? And how much do you want to spend on like answering the essential questions of chemistry, for example? So once you have an idea of like how much time you want to allot, then we have a better idea of like what kind of projects you can do, if that kind of makes sense. It's like kind of like backwards thinking of how you want to go about doing it. So I think like one really easy use case is one that a middle school science teacher did, which Gail Powell, she just did like essential questions, answer them, record a voiceover, and that was her like must do. Anything past that is a kind of like you can do optional thing, but the must do is you have to answer the essential question. You have to record your voiceover of your response and doing it that way. Of course, that's not as fun as if you were to like design something that's like, oh, I'm going to create an interactive app about how do, I don't know, what's a chemistry thing topic that you guys talk about?
Redox chemistry, so like how batteries and stuff work.
How batteries and stuff work. Okay, so maybe I want to create an app explaining to everybody about how batteries and stuff work and why they're so awesome and etc. So that would be a more fun example, but of course that requires more scaffolding from a design perspective, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, you're still explaining how do batteries work. Does that kind of clarify things a little bit? Or you're still kind of confused? Let me see if I can find an example.
Yeah, no, that clarifies a bit, but I'm interested in how you use Elementary to make an app.
Yeah. So, have you gone through the choose your own adventure a little bit?
Yeah, I was filling out the Google Doc, but
you
I
were
hadn't
filling
started
you,
making it.
you
Yeah.
were like, actually, like, I'm going to answer this. Me, I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So in Elementary, you have buttons. Okay, so on buttons, you can code them to go to different pages. And that's basically the main principle of what an app is. You're just going to different scenes. So let me just really quickly grab this example so you can take a look at the code and you can see what it looks like really quick. Share. I have way too many tabs open. Okay, so this is an app design project. And I'm going to actually go into inspect mode just so you can see what the code looks like. So ignore like here. So it'll be like, oh, welcome to Justice Heroes. Explore the issue of climate justice and meet a hero fighting for change. So in this case, they're going to be, researching some climate person of their choice, and they'll have information about that person, and they'll have to list their sources. So in your case, it could be, I don't know, all the different, they would have to choose their, subtopics. And instead of, creating like a poster board, they would create something with buttons where if they click on learn more, then it has information like climate justice ensures that everyone has equal protection, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh, what are the causes of it? And then There's more information about the causes of it. And if we're going to strip down this project to its very core, the core is just simply writing about whatever content area you are focusing on, and then adding navigation buttons and making sure that your content is, your app is clear to read, some UI, user experience, interface sort of topics, and that's pretty much it. If they want to add anything else, they can. But we want to ensure that kind of like everyone can do this basic level first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it like a linear sequence, like the sort of slides we were making it this
Yeah.
morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so linear sequence is really for like to start, and then afterwards you can branch and do whatever you want. So choose your own adventure is like the narrative point, and creating an app is like a more informative point. But at the core coding mechanism, it's the same. It's just user navigation. So guiding the reader to, click on buttons, they can even add links. So if you want, you can add a button that links to an external website, for example. Those are all applications. So if they want to, tie in their research, then they can do that as well.
Let's say hypothetically I made a choose your own adventure or like an app or something. Do my students need to have an account to just view it and interact with it?
No, not at all. So hold on one second. How's it? So for example, on what is it, Dave? Sorry about that. I'm back. So if you wanted to, you can create your own complex escape room game and they can just play it. Is there a resource here that lists the credentials for setting up your elementary account? Can you clarify that a little bit? Is it like a how-to guide or? So we're going to actually cover a little bit about how to add all your students, create a classroom after the breakout room. It'll just be kind of more logistics focused, and there's a help center and help articles and things like that. So that'll be after, so you can know how that all works. I did want to share, has it been, yeah, so we have, for example, oh, there was a chemistry teacher that created a lab safety escape room, I believe. So he created a lab safety escape room that his students had to complete. But that's more like teacher creation. Similarly here, there's a librarian that did American Revolution escape room. I think she just used the template that I have. So I have a template here for escape room template, and then she just remixed that to add her own version. So my name is I don't know, Bob. In this case, it's just very simple, like questions. Oh, another very quick and easy application is having students create quizzes for each other. So it's the same concept. If you want, you can add variables for a score, but they can create a quiz and play each other's quizzes. And that's a easier lift than having them create like a choose your own adventure or designing an app. It's much like more condensed in the format. They can also duplicate the page. So because oftentimes if you have a quiz, you'll have the same kind of like layout. You could just duplicate that page and it will copy all of the layout and the code. So I think I have for tomorrow, we'll go through a personality quiz. And I think there's something, one of the steps is that. So it'll be, I'll try to remember which ones it is. Anybody else?
This isn't, I guess, elementary specific. You mentioned in one of the emails about being able to watch these videos later. Where will those be posted or something, anything like that?
They'll probably be posted on our YouTube channel after I edit everything. So I'm going to go through a round of editing and edit everything so it's more concise and themed, and then it'll be posted. So removing all the other people talking, all that stuff. So everyone else is so quiet. You guys don't have any like questions or maybe like, I teach this, what can I do? I don't know. It's just chilling. Okay, well, if there's no questions, I'm gonna go hop into another breakout room. Just feel free to just mess around with elementary in the meantime. And we'll close the breakout room shortly, and then you'll be back and we'll go over some of the technicalities of creating a classroom, adding students, all of that stuff before ending the day. How does that sound for everyone?
Sounds good.
They are a lot less expensive. So I've been able to get those. I've been able to afford those, which was the biggest obstacle for me. And so then I was able to introduce sort of the basic what's an algorithm and all that kind of stuff, which I feel like can lead into this, you know?
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I can't afford Ozobots and Bbots and
Oh my gosh, you name it, I've got it
yeah,
almost.
we have no budget. So
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky.
Yep.
But if you join Civil Air Patrol, you
Yeah.
pay $35 once, and then uh you join their thing, and then they have all these STEM resources that they will send.
Sneak into those. You sneak those standards into that extra credit, so they're going to get it one way or the other. That's how I view it.
It's just far.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just going to use the lesson templates and also play with it on my own. So, I mean, I would just do the all about me thing to begin with at the beginning of the year. And if they like it, move on and just go, hey, let's do it. Oh, and here's a trick. Here's my trick too with new programs. I tell them I don't know anything about it. You're going to have to teach me just as much as I'm teaching you. So if you figure something out that I don't know, let us all know. And they love that because then they start to feel like they're smarter than me. And I don't care. You can be smarter than me as long as you're doing your work. Did you have any other concerns?
I have Nicole, are you in here right now? Is
I
that why I
am
see your
here.
face?
There's
It-
Nicole.
Can I ask you a question
Yeah.
in terms of New York State Ed Law 2D? Do you know if your
We're
program is
compliant. Yep.
compliant? You are?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
We're
Thank you.
compliant and a BOCES vendor, so you can get the best deal through
Very
I'm
BOCES.
good.
so excited for you.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
So
Yay.
I guess I should tell people that in case other people are wondering. Great question. I'm like, I'm bad at this like marketing pitching stuff.
No, it's a very, very cool application.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? You guys are doing so good. I don't have to be here. The 912 room is so quiet.
I got a big mouth. I'll keep us going. What else do you guys, how else are you going to use it?
I see myself almost passing this information down vertically to the elementary school because I work majority 100% in the middle school and the high school. So I see a ton of application for the younger grades, and with our we have a tech teacher that does like all computer like typing class and stuff like that. So I see myself almost getting way more use out of it by passing the information along and like showing them what we make during this week and how they can use it, because I feel like getting it in more people's hands is way better than just me trying to like bogart it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I do the same thing with anything I find. And so now it's like a cultural thing that we do. It's like, oh, I found this. Oh, I found that. The only problem I have, and just like you were saying with your state of New York, how they get rid of stuff, our district is famous for like, we'll get really into something. It'll go by a couple years, and because there's five less people that they want on it, they get rid of it. It's just like crazy. So we're always switching out too. But I did notice that I got signed up as a free account from my district, so I don't know why they didn't pay for it. It was just kind of weird. So I'm also going to be doing the same thing because like I said, I coach teachers, and I'll definitely be sharing this one with them, and we'll do some lessons together.
Yeah, that's great because our team needs people like you. So
Love to be on another team in 2 years. I'm going to be retiring in 2 years.
Would you say the block coding does it more align itself with going on to learn stuff like C and C++, or does it align itself more in as just like an introduction into maybe something like P basic?
sorry, so you were saying with block coding versus what?
With the block, is it serve better as an introduction to like C and C++, or does it serve better going into something like P basic where it's just setting? I'm not familiar with the block coding,
So
but
this uses node-based visual programming. The closest parallel, if you want to go to the high school level, would be Unreal
yeah,
Engine.
okay.
So that would be the closest. And then you have a Fortnite editor within Unreal Engine. So that provides like the perfect parallel if you were to ramp it up.
So if I were to pass this along to, we have an esports program,
Yeah.
pass that along, that he would see a lot of similarities between.
Yes.
Okay.
I think on Friday we'll have Michael Drezick come on and he on a panel, and he's used it, I think, as an intro for his esports or his CS class that does stuff in the Fortnite builder a little bit.
Very
So
cool. Oh,
so
awesome.
he does like the esports stuff. but he's also like the technology integrator of his district. So he does everything.
That's awesome. It'll be quite the resource to hear speak. Thank you.
No problem.
I think, Nicole, maybe we should collaborate and do one together as a group. So we can learn how to share.
Do one what together?
Anything, like whatever we're learning for the day. Like, for example, the ocean one.
Uh-huh.
Like, and then you said, okay, go to the collaboration room, like what we're in right now. And then we do it together so that none of us are by ourselves.
Ah, so you guys can work through the lesson together. We're planning to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, and it also help us learn how to share.
Yeah. So
That sounds
tomorrow,
kinda fun.
yeah, tomorrow when we go to the grade banded, well, because tomorrow I have more grade banded projects. I didn't get all the grade banded projects for the day one done, but tomorrow you guys can choose which project you want to work on because there's going to be
Oh, cool.
a couple different ones that you can
like the
choose.
hero's journey, like the hero's journey. Is that what you?
No, not that one. Unfortunately, that one's not done, but we do have personality quizzes, different variations of
I saw
personality
that.
quizzes. So those are done. I did those.
You
Hero's
actually
Journey was a
have a
bit
lot for
longer.
the first couple of weeks of school. That's what's cool. Right? Because this stuff is not just like I can assign All About Me to students, right? And they could just learn how to use it that way. And then the personality quiz, anything that's on there as lessons, I can assign.
Yes, you could just directly assign those. So, and
now, oh no, don't record this. I'm like, I gotta get back. I'm the only one left in the breakout room. I don't know how to get back to the main now.
Okay, but yeah, we got you back though.
Okay, thank you.
No worries,
All right,
no
you're
worries.
welcome.
Everything is being
Oh no,
cut
is
out.
everyone on break?
It's okay. We're gonna
No,
cut out
Everybody
all
go.
the stuff. So all the video will be edited. So nobody's gonna be in the video. We don't need other people in the video.
I'm in the right spot. All right.
Okay. So if anyone has any issues with their project, please send an email with the link to your project and a quick description, and we will get it sorted. Okay. So please send me an email, and we can make sure to get you sorted for that. We don't have very much time left, and I know some people were curious about, okay, well, how do I get my students on? How do I create my classroom? You know, all the boring stuff that nobody really wants to talk about, but that's kind of important. So I'll briefly just go through some of it with you. But before we go in, I just want to just see, does anyone have any like highlights from their breakout room that they kind of want to share out? I only was able to join in a couple, and I tried to do 2 at one time, but my brain is not capable of it, though it sounds good on paper. Okay, so I have people had a question about projects. What projects are required for credit? Just the end lesson or all those throughout the day? So just the end lesson is required. All the projects is really for you to just experiment and go through. I don't want to put pressure on you for those things. Just go through the ones that you think that are interesting, check it out. Everyone can go at their own pace. If you don't finish one, it's not a big deal. If you like a certain one and you want to see how it all ends, go for it. Things like that. Someone brought up a great point as it'd be great to do breakout rooms for the projects. So we were actually planning to do that for tomorrow when we have more like different types of projects. I think for like the personality quiz, we have 3 different projects. We'll have 3 different breakout rooms for those projects, so you can be with other people working on that particular project. And any other questions? Make sure I don't forget anything. What day is the end lesson? So you'll start working on your end lesson Thursday, and then you'll finish Friday. You'll have all of Friday pretty much to work through it, except for like think maybe we have like a Spark Talk or something on Friday. I don't really quite remember. But day 5 is mostly all focusing on building your lesson, from the scaffolding to the organizers to if you need, vocabulary banks, and having AI try to, we'll have an
Also,
AI
we're
thing
actually
to.
going to create one of those.
Yeah, you're
Like,
going to create one of these. The ones I make. I don't want to be
oh,
making all of these. I want you guys to have the skills and the AI
yes,
proficiency to create your own. Okay.
yes.
I don't want to. I'm
I
not here
thought
to make
we were
you an
just gonna
expert
create
coder.
I'm excited about that. Yay!
Okay. So that's why I share with you these lessons, so you can kind of have an idea of like what different types of lessons are, like different type of lesson templates. So then you can then brainstorm about how you want to take this lesson template and apply it in your specific classroom. So for example, if you only teach students 30 minutes a day and that's about it, and you can't, the other teachers don't want to cooperate you, so you really only have that 30 minutes, maybe a choose your own adventure is not the right way to go. Maybe you need to find a different type of project. Maybe you need to do, I don't know, a quick quiz or something. You're still kind of hitting those fundamentals that are similar to choose your own adventure, but in a much more mini format. So, okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the resources. So the very first thing is we have a getting started page. It just has like overview. The first thing you want to do is you're going to onboard your students.
Nicole, you're not sharing your screen.
Good job. Thank you. I'm sorry. I get too excited. Too excited. Okay. So this is under getting started, resources, getting started. So very first step, you can onboard your students. So I'll show you how to do that. But basically, there's a couple ways you can onboard your students. You can import your student accounts through Google Classroom, Clever, or ClassLink. Then the student just needs to click on sign in with Google Classroom or sign in with Clever or sign in with ClassLink, and they're connected to your classroom, okay? If you don't want to deal with student emails, or you just want it for you're missing somebody and they don't have an email or whatever reason, you can create student usernames. That's fine. As long as it's unique, it'll create. The other way that you can onboard people is by an invite code. So if you work with, I don't know, I would say middle, high school, people that are capable of understanding how to go and enter in a code, then an invite code can be really useful. For littles, like grades 1, QR code, badge login is probably your best friend. Print them out, stick them somewhere. They just scan it, they can get in. Or if you're working in digital environments, just send them the login link. Just say, click here, you'll be logged in. I'll show you a little bit about the real-time monitoring in a little bit. So let's go ahead and I'm in the wrong place. So I'm going to go into my classrooms. So in my classrooms, there's video tutorials for all of this. I will send you the video tutorial for each one. And there's also help articles that go through the steps. And if that still doesn't solve anything, just ask me and I'll help you along with it. But this is just an overview. Don't worry, just chill, relax. You can create a classroom. So you go ahead and give it a classroom name, like, I don't know, my awesome PD. And then you can give it a grade like other, subject area other. This is, you could set a password. So this is if your students, if you're creating students with just the username, you can set it so all of them have the same password. So you don't have to be like, what's my password? What's my password? Like the password is, I don't know, Fox, whatever your school mascot is. Awesome. Create a class. So once you create a class, you can invite your students. So this is the link. If you want the link, you can send it out. Let me go in incognito mode so you can see what that looks like. So the student will see something like this. It'll be like, my awesome PD. Oh, why am I
Nicole,
logged in as
we
you?
don't see your
Oh no.
incognito screen.
Okay, you don't see You don't see anything, do you? It's because I
No,
shared the
no,
wrong screen.
we still see the classroom, but we don't see the incognito.
Okay, it's because I was sharing the application window and not the entire screen. There we go. So right now I have the incognito screen. This is if you were to send it out through Google Classroom or whatever thing, so that you're like, okay, kids, click on this, then you can join with the classroom. They just click and join. That's how you do it. So this is if you don't import. You can literally just send this invite link, and then people who click on this link to log in with Google Classroom will automatically be added to your classroom. You can also just sync your Google Classroom or Clever or ClassLink, and this will just create your entire class roster. So they don't have to use the invite link. They could just use the regular login. So they could just say, go to Elementary, click on login, click on sign in with Google. That's it. So if you want QR codes or login links, they're here. You can create usernames, all of that stuff. So those are all available for you. This class doesn't have any students, but let me go into a class that does have students. And since I need to log out, since I'm actually logged in as you, Paige, let me log in as me. And so then you can see my classroom. So this is like my storytelling coders club, and you'll see my students here. This is a really old classroom, so you'll see that they're logged in last online 4 months ago. It will tell you, this will update when students log in. So if you're running in a virtual environment, you can see who's on this page, whether they're working on a project. If they're working on a project, you can click on it and enter their project, etc. So if you want to delete a class, okay, let's go back. So we have a couple questions. Let's do them one by one. I'm going to go back to my classrooms. Oh. So if you want to delete a class, it's actually archive. It's the 3 buttons here. You have lots of different options. Copy the class link page, deal with the class settings. So if you want to change up the topics of your description or your grade level, you can do so. And then you can archive class. That's basically your delete. So then, what am I missing?
Can you go over how to do the QR codes again?
The QR codes. So if you want the QR codes, you click on plus student. Okay, you go to manage students. And since this one I have actual students, I can go ahead and get each of the students here if I want to send them individually, or I could just do print all QR badges. I click on that. And there you go. You have all the QR badges here. And then you just download it and print it.
You had another question. If you archive your classes from last year, how does that affect your numbers for this, number of students for this year?
Archiving classes kicks the students out. So your student count is reset essentially. It just doesn't delete the projects. So it just kicks the students out of your classroom, but it keeps your projects there.
My students have been able to see projects that they made in previous years, even though I've archived the classes.
Yes. So they should see their previous projects still. It's just the student is no longer tied to that classroom anymore because it's archived. That's all. So let me go back. So there is the getting started, and it has a lot of things that just link to the help center. So the help center has a bunch of articles, and there might be some missing, but you can kind of get the idea, like importing students from Clever. Like, how do I do that? Well, this is how you do it. There's some troubleshooting, like maybe you don't see your Clever classroom listed. It could be because of your district permission policies, things like that. So once you have created a classroom, you have your students.
This year,
Then all you have to do is go ahead and assign a lesson. So you can assign a lesson by clicking on plus lesson. Public lessons are all the lessons that have been published and that are public. They're the ones that are currently created by me or co-created by other teachers. So you click on public lessons, and then you can go ahead. Let's say I want to do the about me one. I just go ahead and find the about me. One of the goals before the school year starts is to have better filtering, because right now we just have filtering by grade level, but I think we'd like to have filtering for starter projects as we start getting more and more lessons. And then you click start. You say, I want to do it for my class. I click on that. I can choose which classroom I want to put it for. So for example, what did I call this? Classroom? I don't have a classroom because anyway, let's just put it in
Awesome writers.
Awesome writers. You can choose to turn collaboration on or off. So if it's not enabled, then only you can go into the story, but other classmates cannot. And if you enable classroom, then other classmates can enter each other's stories and, work on them together. You can choose whether or not chat is enabled on or off. So maybe you don't want the chat to be enabled. The chat in the collaboration is saved. So if you want to look at the chat, like anytime, you can, and then you can just decide if you want a start date for when this lesson is displayed. And then you click on confirm. And so there you go. You have the all about me here now in my lessons, and now students can see it. Any questions?
We had one question about when and where will the recordings be shared?
Okay, so the recordings will probably be shared on YouTube after I go through and chop things up and make it so that it's more chunked, removing other people's voices, all that stuff. So when? That's a good question. I hope the recordings can be shared in the weeks following this. It just all depends on how long it takes for me to chop everything up. And one other thing someone brought up is with privacy. So I didn't actually have a slide on privacy, but just to clarify, we are Ed Law 2D compliant, as well as some other privacy consortiums compliant. So basically anyone that wants their paperwork done, we probably have done it. If we haven't, then you can go ahead and send it to me. It's always all the same. And we don't, and if you're in the state of New York, then we are also a BOCES vendor. So you'll actually get the best deal through BOCES. We just renewed our contract, I believe, for the next 3 years again. That's more like bookkeeping stuff, technical stuff. Any other questions? Is anybody here a Clever school? And uses Clever for single sign-on?
We do.
Okay.
We use it all throughout the year. The Clever Academy.
Okay, so Clever is a bit special for us because we don't pay for the district integration thing.
That's okay. You want to know why? Because you just put the link in there. You just add it as a link.
No, you can add it. So you can add it to your Clever library. It's just more like from a district integration perspective, like
I know what you're
yeah, it's like messy. Basically, you won't be able to import your classroom if it's added at a district level, but if it's not added at a district level, you can import your classroom. So it's like the technicality of Clever. Yeah. I didn't know that until somebody was using it and they're like, "Oh, my district added it." And then We're like, we can't actually import your classroom. So the students had to use the invite link in order
Yeah.
to sign in instead. So yeah, you have to use the invite
Yeah,
link.
that's nothing new for us.
Yeah.
Especially when we use those apps that are not like, we're not supposed to use. Like just like apps that are not, I mean, they're okay, but they're just not district, like on the district page, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Does that
it's
make
just
sense?
it's
Nothing
just
else, Lauren.
complicated. Okay. But you can still use Clever login. You just can't do import with Clever if you're added at a district level. If you're not added at a district level, you're fine. You could import normally. We're on the library discover page and everything, so you can still import normally.
Okay, so we just basically with the grades, we just got to go to Elementari and look at it that way.
So
And then that's what you're saying.
no, so I'm saying like, you know how Clever has the library discover or whatever?
Yeah. You're
We're
not in.
there. We're
Oh,
there.
there.
We're
Okay.
there. We're there. The problem is that if the district adds us, not you, but the district, if the district adds us, and then you go in through the Clever library and then you try to import your class, it will not succeed. It's just a weird technicality. But if the district does not add us, then you can import normally. So as long as your district doesn't add elementary, everything is okay and everything is normal. As soon as your district adds elementary, it becomes a little bit more complicated for the login process. You would have to just send the invite link for them to use the invite link. It's just how Clever is, unfortunately. ClassLink is no problem as far as I'm concerned. I like ClassLink. I don't have any problems with ClassLink. Clever is special because Clever wants you to the vendors to purchase for a district usage, but like the Clever just the us paying Clever won't actually like we won't make any money. Actually, we'll lose money if we pay Clever for every like school that goes in almost. So that's why we don't have it. So how many students can you add for this pro version? If you're part of this PD, it'll be however many students you're planning to run it with. Otherwise, for pricing, let's go through. You have different categories. You have, up to 35 student accounts is 8. If you're at a school level, aka over 150, then it's just $2 per year. And if you are New York BOCES, then buy through New York BOCES is the best deal. Any last questions? Okay. So if there are, sorry, I can't even speak properly anymore. If there are no more questions, well, I don't have the poll up because I just gave up halfway through. But type in the chat what describes your kind of coding adventure so far. Maybe you feel inspired, you're ready to try it, or you just want to keep exploring, or things are clicking, but you still have a lot of questions, or maybe it was just a lot because it was a lot and you just need some time to process and practice, or still unsure and you just need some help. You're just like, help. So
Nicole, are they able to go onto the YouTube channel to look at some of the
Yeah.
videos that are already there?
Yes, we do have a YouTube channel. It doesn't have the new stuff, but it has some old stuff. So let's go ahead and let's see. Where's my channel? Oh, this is my studio. How do I even get to my channel? YouTube /C. There we go. So I'll put the link of the YouTube in the chat, but really don't worry too much. We'll have a lot more coding work tomorrow. And someone mentioned in another breakout that the best thing you can tell your kids is like, hey, I'm no expert at this. I don't know it. So you're going to have to teach me, because they're so excited. And I hear that over and over again. The students are so excited to teach you, to feel smarter than you, to be like, you see, Ms. Blah, blah, blah. I'm better than you. And they're really excited to teach each other as well. So where am I? I got lost again. So if your account has not been upgraded yet, because we forgot you and missed you, please also just reach out and send me an email, please. And
go back one slide, because then they could see the QR code for the form.
oh, well, yeah, here's the QR code if you want, but really just send me an email. I think we upgraded most people. So just go ahead and send me an email. It's not a big deal. Don't feel like you're bothering me. Everything that all the questions you ask are very important for us, so that we can make this learning experience more clear and smooth for future learners. So, okay. So tomorrow though, it's all about projects. So we're going to be doing lots and lots of projects. We moved one project already to tomorrow. So I'm going to add that as we're going to have a lot of choices. You're going to choose one project, and then we'll go into breakout rooms to work on that project, and it'll be up to you which project you want. So within the project choices, there'll be a speech recognition project using the on pronounce block, one of my favorite blocks. There'll be a personality quiz. There'll be a Mad Lib. It's not here because we went over time. Some number variable games, and a really quick thing into Boolean interactive fiction. So we'll be talking about the coding concepts of variables, of conditionals, variable types, all of that fun stuff. And tomorrow's panel is going to be super fun. It's going to be on amplifying voices and CS in education. Really excited for this panel. There's going to be lots of superstars. And yeah. So any last questions about anything? Is there an equation tool to write out something like x to the second power? So we have a calculate block, and it takes a string, which is a number expression. I would have to double check to see if it can do powers and not just addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. I would have to check. And if not, we can build it. So that's the great thing. So I didn't really talk about Elementary too much, but a little bit of context of like Elementary and the company. So Elementary is run by myself and my husband, which means it could be good, it could be bad, depends on how you see things of working with your spouse. For us, it's going great. But it does mean we're a tiny team of 2, and that allows us to kind of do what we envision. We don't have any external funding from some investor or anything. It's all us. We're a mom and pop digital shop sort of thing. So yeah. Yeah, if you want to invite a colleague, feel free to join in tomorrow. Yeah, just share the link out. So if there's any cool functions that you can think of for coding, feel free to let us know and we'll try to implement it. Well, thank you. Okay, so somebody asked, did I forget to link for the school-wide access? I'm a librarian. It'd be great for grades 1 to 5. I think pretty much after the PD, I'll just share out a form that you guys can fill out, or like during whenever I decide to make this form, essentially, I'll share out a form where you can fill out to say exactly how many student accounts you need. So I can make sure that you guys have a school plan and then you have however many student accounts you need. If you are a school librarian, or anyone who teaches above 150 students, you'll be automatically upped to the school plan. And under the school plan, teacher accounts are free. So if you have other teachers that want to join in on the fun, they can go ahead and create an account for free. We only count student accounts for the counting. So, any other questions? Yeah, librarian love. If you are a core classroom teacher and you haven't worked with your librarian, reach out. I'm sure they'll love you too. So you guys can do cool things together. Anyway, do we have anything else? I think I have my slides here are pretty much done. It's been a really long day, but I hope you're all as excited for tomorrow as I am. So if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and maybe close out a little bit early, and I'll just make sure to rearrange the schedule so that it reflects a little bit better about what tomorrow will be. So. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really happy that you're all here. It makes me happy. And wonderful shout out to Paige. Thank you so much. Everyone say, woo, Paige. Paige has been using Elementary since the olden days. Anyway, Paige, I don't know if you wanted to add anything. I feel like my video is always blurry. It's like this camera is not focusing properly.
No, you're bright and clear, so
Okay.
we're good. So if anybody needs any help, just email, put in the chat, let us know. I will not be with you tomorrow, but I'll be back on Wednesday. So, but you'll be in capable hands. Lots of support.
Okay, well, I think we can close out
Everybody
then.
have a great evening or afternoon for those of you who are on the West Coast.
Okay. Do I just end now, I guess? Unless you have anything you wanted to add. Thank you so much, Paige. Really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Anytime. I did send you a couple of emails.
Okay,
So,
great. Perfect.
yeah, check them in the morning, I guess.
How do I save the chat? Can I save
Okay,
it?
so it should be in the, it used to be in the bottom right. There was a place to save the chat. And I don't see it right now.
Okay, well, if
The
you don't
three
see it-
dots at the top.
I think the three dots at the beside the little square.
The three
Nope.
dots say save.
The three
Nope,
dots at the
it's
top
not
of
there
the
anymore.
square.
Yeah, I don't see it there anymore.
Nope.
Did you make your chat a pop out?
I
Yeah,
mean,
my
I said-
chat's a pop out and I still don't see it. I
And
have
then where it says
participant can
Nicole's
chat
personal
with.
meeting, there's three dots
Yeah.
at the
Yep.
top. If you click it, it says save chat. No.
It's the only thing.
Yeah,
that's there.
not in this version. Not in this
See.
version of Zoom. That's where it used to be.
It's okay. I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. I'll
It,
just
I think,
scroll.
Nicole, I think it should save the way you did it permanently, but Rachel said she saved it and she's going to email it to you. I think because we're the host and co-host, it's not in the same place. Take me off of co-host and
Okay,
I'll see if it's where they're saying
because
it is.
I'm gonna try to, let's see, I'm gonna take you off as co-host. Let me remove you.
Because Rachel said she was able to save it,
Oh,
so
great.
maybe if I'm not co-host anymore.
I did
Okay, you're not co-host anymore.
Okay, so let's see. Well, now it says merge to meeting window. Let's see.
Weird.
Nope.
Okay, well.
But
if you're
Rachel
able to-
said she'll email it to you.
Perfect. Since I'll go through it and try to see if I can compile the questions and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
I think it'll end up in on your desktop.
Okay.
When you get when you hang up, when you disconnect and you get into when the recording gets posted to you, you'll get an email notification, and
I will
then
try
you'll
that.
see the chat. The chat should come with it I believe it's a text file.
Okay. I'll try that.
Okay. All right. And then, like I said, check your email also because Rachel Lemansky said she'll share it with you.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. All right.
Take care.
Good
Bye
night.
bye. Good night. Bye bye.